Chapter 398 Chapter 398, Sword Emperor's Hometown, 1. Chapter 398, Sword Emperor's Hometown, 1. Divine Realm outside Xiao Changqian's courtyard. The Sword Emperor stood in front of Li Taibai, his wooden sword in his hand. "Little brother, let's not fight anymore, let's not fight anymore." Hearing the Sword Emperor's shout, Li Taibai slowly withdrew his sword energy. The Sword Emperor then walked up to Li Taibai and smiled at him. "Little brother, your attainments in the path of the sword can be said to be amazing. I really admire you." The Sword Emperor looked at Li Taibai, his eyes filled with amazement. The strength of this senior's disciple was too terrifying. If not for the senior's wooden sword, how could he still be standing now? She didn't know what she was thinking just now. How could he have thought that senior would let him teach his disciple? With senior's unfathomable strength, his disciple's strength should have long reached the peak of perfection. As he pondered, the Sword Emperor looked at Li Taibai. Then what did senior mean by letting his disciple interact more with him? At this moment, the Sword Emperor slowly said to Li Taibai, "Little brother, have you had any difficulties recently?" No matter what, he had to ask if there was anything he could help with. Hearing the Sword Emperor's words, Li Taibai fell silent for a moment. His master had told him to communicate more with him, but there was nothing powerful about the Sword Emperor's sword. What did he mean by asking for his help? Li Taibai suddenly remembered what the old hen and the others had said to him in the courtyard. Another important purpose of his trip here was to find the ingredients that his master had instructed him to give him. With this thought in mind, Li Taibai walked up to the Sword Emperor and said, "I've been looking for an ingredient recently. I wonder if you've seen it?" As he spoke, Li Taibai gathered his true qi and transformed in front of the Sword Emperor. A huge white flower appeared in front of the Sword Emperor. "This is a snow lotus. Have you seen it before?" The Sword Emperor looked at the snow lotus in front of him and his body trembled. He pointed at the flower in front of him and sighed. This was fate. Sighing in his heart, the Sword Emperor slowly said to Li Taibai, "Little brother, I know where this flower is. Let me take you there." Li Taibai saw the look in the Sword Emperor's eyes, and he seemed a little sad. He didn't say anything and just nodded to the Sword Emperor. Then Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor turned into two streaks of light and disappeared from the courtyard. At this moment, the old hen and monkey in the courtyard were also looking at the sky. The old hen's eyes flickered slightly, and then she continued to wander around the courtyard. Outside the God Burial Mountain Range. At this moment there was a group of demon beasts gathered here. After the competition in the Demon Hall and Wu Gong's underground palace was over, many experts of the demonic beast world headed there in an attempt to find some of the things they had left behind. At this moment, under the lead of the Sword Emperor, Li Taibai once again arrived at the outskirts of the God Burial Mountain Range. "Sword Emperor, is this snow lotus in the God Burial Mountain Range?" When he followed the Blue Luan and the others here, he did not sense any snow lotus aura here. Hearing Li Taibai's words, the Sword Emperor didn't reply. With a flash, he flew forward. As he arrived in the God Burial Mountain Range, the Sword Emperor looked at the stone statue of the demon ancestor in front of him. "Yin Yang bird, long time no siege." As the Sword Emperor's ancient voice rang out, a black and white aura rose from the stone statues of the demon race ancestors. Then the figure of the Yin Yang bird appeared in the air. Seeing the Yin Yang bird in front of him, the Sword Emperor smiled at him. "According to our agreement, help me open that restriction." Yin Yang bird looked at the Sword Emperor in front of him and Li Taibai behind him. He was no stranger to these two people. Then without saying anything, a bird chirped. The black and white qi on his body spread out and quickly condensed into a huge space tunnel in front of the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai. "Go in. I can only maintain this passage for 3 days." Yin Yang Taoist looked at Sword Emperor and said slowly. Hearing the Yin Yang bird's words, the Sword Emperor clasped his fists. Then he stepped into the space channel. Behind him, Li Tai also looked at the spatial passageway. Without saying anything, his figure flashed and he also stepped in. After passing through the space passage, Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor arrived in a brand new world. The Sword Emperor looked at the scenery in front of him. The mountain was covered with dense forests, and there was even smoke rising from the village. Li Taibai looked around and said to the Sword Emperor, "This is an independent space." Li Taibai had just sensed and checked the entire space. This place did not seem to be connected to the Divine Realm. It was similar to the Tianyuan continent, an independent lower realm. However, what was not connected to the Tianyuan continent was that the passage to the divine realm seemed to be cut off by some force. If it wasn't for the yin-yang bird's help, they wouldn't have been able to enter. He couldn't even find the coordinates of this space. Hearing Li Taibai's words, the Sword Emperor nodded. Little brother, you are right. This is indeed an independent space. However, previously, it was the same as the other lower realms. It was just that I isolated it from the divine realm. The Sword Emperor looked at the scenery for a while, and after hearing Li Taibai's words, he reacted. She slowly explained to him. You have been isolated by you. When Li Taibai heard the Sword Emperor's voice, he was stunned. Then he saw the Sword Emperor fly down. Soon the two of them landed on a mountain peak. Looking at the surrounding scenery, it seemed to reveal a primitive taste. Occasionally, a few demon beasts would come out of the forest to watch, looking eager to try. Yes, I isolated it because this is my hometown, the Sword Emperor said as he recalled the past. He then grabbed at the air in front of him. Li Taibai understood what was going on after hearing the Sword Emperor's words. So this road was the Sword Emperor's hometown. No wonder he asked the Sword Emperor for the snow lotus. The Sword Emperor's expression was a little strange. So he was thinking about his hometown. He probably had some extraordinary difficulties in cutting off the connection between his hometown and the divine realm. With this thought in mind, Li Taibai slowly said to the Sword Emperor, actually, with Master's approval, you can restore your connection with the divine realm at any time if you want. Hearing Li Taibai's words, the Sword Emperor laughed at himself. That's right, if he had seen your strength, he wouldn't have had to isolate his connection with the divine realm back then. At this moment, a cloud of dust rose from the mountain peak. It seemed like someone was chasing after them. Chapter 399 Chapter 399, Watching the Battle, 1. Chapter 399, Watching the Battle, 1. In a small space, a cloud of dust rose from the mountain where Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor were. Then, a few figures appeared in front of Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor. In the crowd, there was an old man in beast clothes with blood on his body. Beside him were a few young men and women in beast clothes. The old man looked behind him from time to time. Then, as if he couldn't hold on any longer, he stopped listening halfway. Dezhuang, you take Muner and the others and leave first. Go and meet up with the clan leader and the others. As he spoke, the old man turned around and prepared to welcome the enemy behind him. At this moment, when Dezhuang heard the old man's words, a few drops of tears appeared on his face. Elder. After saying this, the man named Dezhuang also knelt down in front of the elder. A young girl beside him saw Dezhuang's appearance and walked to the side of the old man. She slowly said to him, Elder Huang, if you want to leave, we'll leave together. We won't leave you behind. Dezhuang, Muner is not sensible. Are you going to mess around with him? No. Elder Huang saw Dezhuang and Muner's expressions and seemed to be a little angry as he shouted. At this moment, Dezhuang also stood up from the ground, pulled Muner and bowed to the elder. Elder, I know what to do. As he spoke, Dezhuang also wanted Muner to run behind him. At this moment, Muner's face was also filled with tears as if she did not want to leave Elder Huang's side. However, she was pulled by Dezhuang and followed him out. Dezhuang had only taken a few steps when he stopped. What's going on, Dezhuang? What are you doing? Elder Huang shouted at Dezhuang once again when he sensed that Dezhuang had stopped. At this moment, a few voices sounded in their ears. You want to run? Where do you want to run to? It looks like you can still run. As this voice fell, a man with horns on his head appeared in the eyes of Elder Huang and the others. The man held a longbow in his hand and carried a quiver on his back. His quiver was filled with arrows. Behind the man were a few old men. They were all holding longbows and carrying quiver on their backs. Elder Huang's expression turned gloomy when he saw these few people appear. Dezhuang, why aren't you leaving yet? Seeing that Dezhuang was still standing there, Elder Huang could not help but say again. At this moment, Dezhuang's voice was heard. Elder, there's someone up ahead. As he spoke, he pointed at Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor. Looking at their decorations, it was obvious that they were not from their tribe. In this case, it was very likely that the Black Wind side would hire experts to deal with them. After hearing Dezhuang's words, Elder Huang turned around and saw the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai on the mountain peak. He saw the two people on the mountain peak. However, it did not seem to be beneficial for them to appear here at this time. In front of Elder Huang, Black Wind saw Sword Emperor and Li Taibai on the mountain peak. She turned her head and said to old Zhu beside her. Third uncle, do you know those two people? After whispering into the ear of an old man, the old man slowly said to him, Young master, I just checked those two people. They don't have any aura on them. It should be two mortals. Ignore them. If they interfere, I can easily kill them. Hearing the old man's words, Black Wind nodded. Third uncle's strength had already reached the Divine Lord level. It was said that he was also a great expert in the legendary divine world. With third uncle's words, then he could rest assured and show off his skills. With this thought in mind, Black Wind stopped paying attention to Li Taibai and Sword Emperor. He turned to look at Elder Huang and the others and slowly said, Huang, your sword sect has declined for so long. It's already very difficult for you to survive. How about this? For the sake of the reputation of the sword sect, I can give you a chance. Hand over the girl behind you. I can give your sword sect a way out. Perhaps one day you can make a comeback. As he spoke, the man named Black Wind also burst into laughter. Haifeng, you guys are too much. Your arrow sect and our sword sect have irreconcilable hatred. Now you want to take our saintess? Do you think it's possible? As he spoke, Elder Huang also took out a long sword from his body. The tip of the sword was pointed at Black Wind, looking as if he was about to kill at the slightest disagreement. Standing on the mountain peak, Li Taibai saw the Sword Emperor tremble when he heard about the swordsmanship sect. Are you familiar with the sword sect? Li Taibai came to the Sword Emperor's side and said slowly. My sect. The Sword Emperor replied. Do you want to help? Li Taibai said to the Sword Emperor as he looked at Elder Huang, Haifeng, and the others. Thank you, little brother. There's no hurry. The Sword Emperor slowly said to Li Taibai, and then looked at the little girl called Mooner. Li Taibai followed his gaze and paused on Mooner. This girl's talent was indeed extraordinary. He did not expect that there would be a sword spirit body in this small space. Sword spirit physique was the physique that swordsmen dreamed of. Not only could the owner of the sword spirit physique be comparable to any spiritual sword perfectly, but it could also be compared to a spiritual sword. Moreover, as long as he found a high-grade spirit sword and the spirit sword entered his body, his cultivation speed was almost several times that of other immortal cultivators. Moreover, the strength of his attack was something that other cultivators could not compare to. At this moment, the man named Black Wind had already taken out an arrow. He placed it on his longbow and aimed it at Elder Huang. Elder, be careful. Now it was not right to advance or retreat. De Zhuang also shouted at Elder Huang in front of him. Find an opportunity to escape. Elder Huang replied when he heard De Zhuang's words. Following that, the true essence in his body also rose and attached itself to the long sword in his body. One sword shattering the heavens. The long sword was filled with Elder Huang's true essence. Under Elder Huang's operation, a sword light flew towards Black Wind. Looking at the oncoming sword light, Haifeng also snorted coldly. The hand that was holding the arrow let go, and the arrow brought with it a gust of wind. An arrow piercing the sky. The arrow flew out, bringing with it a sharp light as it collided with the sword light. Both were annihilated. At this moment, Black Wind also saw De Zhuang and the others who were trying to escape. He said to the old man beside him. Third uncle, please take action. Chapter 400 Chapter 400 The Sword Emperor makes his move, 1. Chapter 400 The Sword Emperor makes his move, 1. In a small space, Black Wind said slowly to the old man beside him and looked at Elder Huang in front of him. I'm not playing with you guys. Hearing Black Wind's voice, Elder Huang also sensed something and looked in the direction of De Zhuang. He saw that the elder who was called Third Uncle by Black Wind had already arrived in the sky above De Zhuang. De Zhuang, be careful. Elder Huang shouted and chased after him. The elder of the Arrow sect had already reached the Divine Lord realm. De Zhuang and the others were no match for him. Elder Huang. At this moment, the elder of the Arrow sect also saw Elder Huang rushing over and shouted coldly. A mere deity dares to block me. As he spoke, the elder of the Arrow sect waved his sleeve and attacked him. Bang! As the elder of the Arrow sect waved his hand, Elder Huang also felt his body fly out. Elder Huang coughed as he fell to the ground. Then he spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, Mooner also looked at the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai on the mountain peak. He pulled De Zhuang and said slowly, Big brother De Zhuang, walk over there. In a moment of desperation, De Zhuang heard Mooner's words and did not say anything more. He ran towards Li Taibai's mountain peak. After dealing with Elder Huang, the elder of the Arrow sect also saw De Zhuang and Muner walking towards Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor. "Humph, do you think two mortals can save you? What a joke." Saying so, the elder of the Arrow sect also shot out. "Now, let me extinguish your hopes completely." Then, the elder of the Arrow sect gathered his true essence and attacked Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor. Li Taibai stood on the mountain peak and watched the elder of the Arrow sect attack him. Standing next to Li Taibai, the Sword Emperor slowly walked forward. "I'm sorry for bringing trouble to you, little brother." As he spoke, the Sword Emperor swung his sword towards the elder of the Arrow sect. Bang! When the elder of the Arrow sect saw the sharp edge coming towards him, his expression changed. Just as he was about to say something, he was struck to the ground by the Sword Emperor. Whoosh! The figure of the elder of the Arrow sect slowly dissipated, and there was no time for him to make a sound. At this time, De Zhuang and Muner were also looking at the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai on the mountain peak in shock. De Zhuang stuttered and bowed to Li Taibai and the others. "Thank you very much, thank you, senior." After stuttering to the Sword Emperor, De Zhuang didn't continue to run away with Muner. This senior's strength was so terrifying that even if they fled, it would only take a thought for him to kill them in the end. On the other side, Black Wind looked at the elder of Arrow sect who had turned into ashes on the ground. An old man also came to his side and slowly said to him, "Young master, what should we do?" Haifeng looked at the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai with fear in his eyes. "Third uncle is dead. What else do you want? Run quickly and report to father." As soon as he finished speaking, Black Wind's savior immediately turned into a whirlwind and disappeared from everyone's sight. An existence that could kill his third uncle must have the same strength as his father, reaching the godly king realm. If he stayed here, wouldn't he be waiting for death? He did not know when such an expert had appeared in the Sword sect. After Haifeng escaped, the few Arrow sect elders didn't dare to stay any longer. Although the sect master had asked them to follow the young master out to capture the Sword sect's saintess, Muner. However, the young master had already run away and they were still staying here. Wasn't that courting death? After the people from Arrow sect left, Elder Huang, who was lying on the ground, slowly stood up. He bowed to the Sword Emperor on the mountain peak. "Thank you for what you did just now, senior." An existence that could kill third uncle Black Wind was regarded as a distinguished guest in the Sword sect in the past. This kind of expert was usually unpredictable. It was better for him to be careful. With this thought in mind, Elder Huang also wanted to leave with Muner and De Zhuang. Holding Muner in his hand, Elder Huang once again bowed to the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai. "Senior, if there's nothing else, we'll leave first." As soon as he finished speaking, Elder Huang was about to leave with Muner and De Zhuang. At this moment, the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai watched the group of people leave without saying a word. Since the Sword Emperor didn't say anything, Li Taibai naturally didn't care. He was here to find the Snow Lotus, so he didn't really care about anything else. Then, a voice entered the ears of the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai. "Big brother, come and help us in our village. There are bad people attacking our village. Grandpa Chief and the others are in a difficult situation." While speaking, Mu'er looked at Li Taibai with her big watery eyes. Perhaps it was because of the sword spirit body, Mu'er had a good impression of Li Taibai. After hearing Mu'er's words, Li Taibai was stunned and sighed. He said to the Sword Emperor beside him, "Sword Emperor, let's go take a look at his village." After hearing Li Taibai's words, the Sword Emperor nodded his head. "I'll listen to you, little brother." As they finished speaking, Li Taibai came to Mu'er. Seeing Li Taibai suddenly appear, Elder Huang's heart trembled. He had long heard that these experts were temperamental. Now they were all in front of him. Elder Huang quickly bowed to Li Taibai and said slowly, "Senior, please forgive us. The holy maiden of the sect is not sensible. Please forgive us." Before Elder Huang could continue, a force lifted him up. Li Taibai looked at Elder Huang and said slowly, "Elder, there's no need to be so nervous. I'll go to your village to take a look." Hearing Li Taibai's words, Elder Huang's face was also filled with joy. Then he said to Li Taibai, "Thank you, senior." Their village had just been attacked by the Arrow sect a while ago. If they had the help of this senior, there might be other opportunities in the future. "Let's go." Li Taibai smiled at Elder Huang and then made an inviting gesture. Then, under Elder Huang's lead, the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai flew towards the Sword sect's village. At this moment, on the other side, Black Wind slowly appeared on a mountain peak and looked behind him. When he saw that only a few archery sect elders had come, he heaved a sigh of relief. Then he slowly said, "Fortunately, I didn't catch up. Young master, what should we do next?" At this moment, an elder of the Arrow sect walked up and said slowly to Hafen, "Return to the sect." Chapter 401 Father and Son Plot, 1. Chapter 401, Father and Son Plot, 1. Small space at the foot of a mountain peak. Hafen and a few Arrow sect elders came to the foot of the mountain and looked at the mountain road in front of them. Their eyes revealed a trace of joy. This was a towering mountain peak, and the entire peak of the mountain was covered by clouds. Its height could not be seen clearly. At this moment, a few of the beast hide guards placed their hands on their chests when they saw Black Wind. "Young master." As their voices fell, a stone plaque appeared above Black Wind and the others. Arrow Sect. In this world, the Arrow Sect and the Sword Sect each controlled a domain. This world was named after their two sects, the Arrow Sword world. They were all sects that were respected by countless tribes in the Arrow Sword realm. After Hafen went up the mountain, he arrived in front of a large hall. Standing outside the hall, Black Wind clasped his hands together and said to the people inside the hall, "Father, your son has returned and has something to report." As Black Wind's voice fell, an ancient voice sounded from the hall. "It's good that you're back. Did the Sword Master's sword spirit body say that the girl was resolved?" Hearing this voice, Black Wind's face became nervous as he knelt down in front of the hall. "Father, I came back to explain this matter. When we were trying to kill Munir, an unknown expert appeared and even Third Uncle died in his hands. It was only because Third Uncle fought his way out that we were able to escape." As he spoke, Black Wind also gave a look to the few Arrow Sect elders beside him. Then the few Arrow Sect elders knelt down in front of the hall. "Yes, Sect Master, young master is right." At this moment, the door of the hall opened with a bang, and a gust of wind blew out from inside. Then an angry voice sounded in the world. "Black Wind, what did you say? Third brother is dead?" A figure slowly appeared in front of everyone after he finished speaking. The figure had a beard on his chin and a rough figure. One of his arms seemed especially rough. There was also a stone carved with arrows on his neck. This was Hafeng's father, the leader of the Arrow Sect. At this moment, outside the main hall of the Arrow Sect, the sect leader of the Arrow Sect was looking at the group of people in front of him. "You said that an unknown expert appeared." "That's right, Sect Master. The third elder was about to succeed, but that person killed the third elder in one move." An elder of the Arrow Sect said slowly to the sect leader of the Arrow Sect with a long face. "Killed third brother in one move?" Hearing the words of the elder of the Arrow Sect, the sect leader of the Arrow Sect could not help but raise his voice. "I've never heard of such an expert in the Arrow Sword world. Could it be some old monster who has been hiding in the world? No, that's not possible. In other words, it's very likely that the Sword Sect has found." At this point, the elder of Arrow Sect suddenly stopped talking and waved at the others. Following that, the people next to Arrow Master retreated. Arriving in front of Hafen, the Arrow Sect's sect leader also slowly said to him, "Black Wind, I have a very important task for you. Go and invite the leaders of the other tribes in the Arrow Sword realm. Just say that I have something to discuss with them. Father, although those tribes have submitted to our Arrow Sect, they won't come without a proper reason." Black Wind did not expect his father to say this to him. He was also a little puzzled and slowly said to him, "The third uncle was dead, but the sword spirit body of the Sword Sect was not destroyed. Shouldn't his father be gathering everyone to attack the Sword Sect?" At this moment, the sect leader of Arrow Sect smiled at Hafen. "Feng you don't understand. According to your description, a peerless expert suddenly appeared in the Sword Sect. This person is at least a god king. The Sword Sect has just been defeated by us and now a peerless expert has appeared. Isn't this too strange? There's such an expert in the Arrow and Sword realm. He shouldn't have been unknown before." At this moment, Hafen seemed to have come to his senses. He looked at the face of the Arrow Sect's sect leader. She smiled and waved at him. "Father, are you saying that the ancestral item of the Sword Sect is most likely?" Hearing Black Wind's words, the Arrow Sect's sect leader also made a gesture to indicate that he understood the new path. Then he said, "Otherwise, Why would they abandon their territory and flee with their ancestral items? You know what to do, right? When Haifeng heard the words of the Arrow Sect's sect leader, he nodded at him. Understood, father. Don't worry, father. This time I'll definitely gather all the tribes and have a good talk with the Sword Sect. Yes. The sect leader of the Arrow Sect nodded in satisfaction when he saw Haifeng's confident look. The few of you follow me. Haifeng waved his hand at the few Arrow Sect elders, indicating that they should leave with him. Then, under the gaze of the Arrow Sect's sect master, Haifeng left with the elders of the Arrow Sect. Sword Sect, the secret you've been hiding for hundreds of years is finally about to be unraveled by me. I hope that when the tribal army arrives, you will be able to resist for a while. As he spoke, the sect leader of the Arrow Sect spread out his hands and laughed loudly at the sky. Then he saw the few Arrow Sect disciples beside him. He also said to them, "The few of you stop looking. Go and find out about the Sword Sect. Otherwise you'll have a good look." As he spoke, the Archery Sect's sect leader also picked up a longbow from the cover beside him. Seeing the Arrow Sect's sect leader like this, those disciples of the Arrow Sect also hurriedly smiled at him. Then he walked down the mountain. According to the personality of the Arrow Sect's sect master, if they walked a little slower they would definitely be in trouble. On the other side, Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor were led by Munger and Elder Huang through the forest. They also came to the side of a stream. Munger came to the stream and saw the village opposite. She said to Li Taibai happily, "Big brother, that's my home." Hearing Munger's innocent voice, Li Taibai also looked over. As he released his spiritual sense, Li Taibai saw everything that had happened. Just as Munger had said, there was indeed a village in front of them. Moreover, the people in the village were the same as Elder Huang, who was beside him. They cultivated the sword. At this moment, Li Taibai glanced at the Sword Emperor. He could feel that the people in the village in front of him had a similar cultivation system to the Sword Emperor. At this moment, the Sword Emperor smiled at Li Taibai and said to everyone, "Let's go in." Hearing the Sword Emperor's words, Elder Huang hurriedly replied. This was an existence that could kill a divine lord with one move. If the sect master knew that he had neglected him, he would be able to kill him. That would be incredible. At this moment, Elder Huang also made a gesture of invitation to Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor. Follow me. Chapter 402 Chapter 402, A Spy Sent by the Archery Master? 1. Chapter 402, A Spy Sent by the Archery Master? 1. Small space in front of the village. Elder Huang led Li Taibai and Sword Emperor into the village. Just as they arrived in front of the village, a few young burly men saw Elder Huang and Munger. They put down their hands and shouted to the people behind them, "The Saintess is back. Hurry and report to the sect master." "What is it? The Saintess is back?" As soon as the young man finished speaking, a few burly men also looked towards the door. Munger was being held by Elder Huang as she looked around with her big watery eyes. "The Saintess is back. Hurry and report to the sect master." At this moment, the news of Munger's return spread like wildfire in the village. Then a few streaks of light flew past Li Taibai and the others. A few figures flew over from the sky and landed in front of them. The flowing light descended, revealing the figures within. They were a few white-haired elders who were similar to Elder Huang. Each of them had a long sword at their waists. When they saw Munger, they all walked over and said to him excitedly, "Holy Maiden, it's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. God bless our sword sect." At this moment, a white-haired elder stood in front of Munger and the others. He said to Elder Huang slowly, "Old Yellow, it's been hard on you. You don't know how everyone felt when Haifeng chased after you. Sigh, it's all my fault." The elder laughed at himself as he said this. At this moment, Elder Huang also smiled at the few white-haired elders. "Actually, we were able to return safely this time thanks to the help of these two seniors." As he spoke, Elder Huang's body also moved a few steps to the side. The Sword Emperor and Li Taibai's figures were revealed in front of everyone. At this moment, everyone in the village saw Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor clearly. When they first entered the village, everyone's attention was on Munger. Basically, no one paid attention to Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor. At this moment, a white-haired elder slowly said to Elder Huang, "Old Yellow, are you saying that you were able to escape from Black Wind because of the two of them?" The white-haired old man's words were filled with disbelief. The two people standing in front of him did not seem to have any aura at all. One of them was still all right. He even carried a huge sword on his back. It seemed that he was a sword cultivator. However, the one beside him was even more ridiculous. It was a young face. Looking at his appearance, his age was not more than 20 years old. He would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. He didn't even think about it. However, there was nothing to be said about talent. In the entire world of the sword and arrow, he was at the top of the pyramid. He had only cultivated 100 armor, but his strength had already reached the level of a god. It made these old fellows extremely stunned. How could they be defeated by a young kid? The white-haired old man exchanged glances with the others. The other elders saw the white-haired old man's gaze and knew what he was thinking. After the few of them confirmed their thoughts, they all waved their hands at Elder Huang. "Old Huang, take Mooner down to rest first. We'll take care of these two." As he spoke, the white-haired old man gave Elder Huang a look. Then Elder Huang pulled Mooner and De Zhuang to the side. Then the white-haired old man walked up to the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai. "You two are spies from the Arrow sect, right? Let me tell you, for Muir's sake, we won't pursue the matter if you leave now. Go back and tell that old man from the Arrow sect. If you don't know how to appreciate favors and continue to stay here, don't blame us for showing mercy." As he spoke, the white-haired old man and the others moved, surrounding the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai. How could they not know what kind of strength Haifeng had? How could it be so easy for these two mortals to save Muir from Black Wind? Moreover, they were not related to them, so why should they help them? If they wanted benefits, it would be better to help the Arrow sect. After thinking about it, the few white-haired elders all felt that what Elder Huang and the others had encountered was a trick of the Arrow sect. It was to let these two people come to their sword sect to inquire about information. At the critical moment, he would give their sword sect a fatal blow. Surrounded by a few sword sect elders, the Sword Emperor sighed. Then he took a step forward. "In that case, you're going to do it the hard way." A white-haired old man saw the Sword Emperor's reaction and said slowly. After hearing their words, not only did these two people not leave, but they also took a step forward. Wasn't this provoking them? Although these two mortals have good mental fortitude, they can't fool us. With this thought in mind, the white-haired old man was about to unsheath his sword and attack the Sword Emperor and the others. At the same time, a gust of wind came from afar. "Elder Bai, what are you guys doing?" Along with the sound of the wind, a clear female voice was heard. Then a white-robed, long-haired woman with a long sword on her waist fell from the sky. With the appearance of this figure, everyone from the sword sect, including a few elders, bowed to her. "Greetings, sect master." At this moment, Muir saw that the sword sect master had also broken free from Elder Huang's arm and was running toward her. "Master." The sword sect master landed on the ground and looked around. He saw Muir walking towards him. He smiled and waved at her. "Elder Huang brought you back." Yes. Master, I even met Big Brother. It was she who saved me." Muir pointed at Li Taibai as she spoke. Seeing these two figures, the sword sect master smiled at them. He walked towards them and slowly said to them, "I'm Bai Mei, the sect master of the sword sect. Thank you for saving Muir." As she spoke, the sword sect master Bai Mei also bowed slightly to Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor. Seeing Bai Mei's actions, Elder Bai also slowly transmitted his voice to her. "Sect master, there's something strange about these two people. Before Elder Bai could finish speaking, he saw Bai Mei wave at him. Then Bai Mei slowly said to Elder Huang, "Elder Huang, these two are guests from afar and Muir's benefactors. Take them to the village to rest." Elder Huang heard Bai Mei's words and was stunned for a moment before walking over to Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor. He slowly said to them, "The two of you follow me." Seeing Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor leave with Elder Huang, Elder Bai and the others looked at each other. He did not say anything else. Chapter 403 Chapter 403, The Past of the Sword Emperor, 1. Chapter 403, The Past of the Sword Emperor, 1. Small Space Muir Village. Under Elder Huang's lead, the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai arrived at a room in the village. After arriving at his residence, Elder Huang exchanged a few pleasantries with the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai. Subsequently, Elder Huang slowly said to the two of them, "Then the two of you can rest assured and stay here. I still have things to do, so I won't disturb the two of you." Elder Huang walked out of the courtyard after he finished speaking. After Elder Huang left, Li Taibai walked to the Sword Emperor's side and said, "Sword Emperor, where is the snow lotus?" Li Taibai had come to this small space to find the snow lotus. Hearing Li Taibai's words, the Sword Emperor was also stunned. He then took a few steps forward. Then he slowly said to Li Taibai, "Little brother, the snow lotus is among the ancestral items of the Sword Sect." Sword Sect's ancestral item? Li Taibai was stunned by the Sword Emperor's words. Sword Sect, wasn't it the small village he was in now? However, when he first arrived he had also investigated the entire village from inside to outside. There was no aura of the snow lotus at all. Could it be that there was some kind of spiritual artifact in this village that could isolate detection? However, with their strength, the strongest of them was only a god king. With his strength, he should have been able to tell that something was wrong even if there was an item that blocked their aura. At this moment, the Sword Emperor seemed to have noticed the confusion on Li Taibai's face. Then she slowly explained to him, "The ancestral item of the Sword Sect does indeed contain a snow lotus. It's to seal the gate connecting the arrow sword realm and the divinity in the ancestral artifact and use the snow lotus to suppress it. That's why this place hasn't had any contact with the outside world for hundreds of years." At this moment, the Sword Emperor seemed to have vented all the frustration and hesitation he had felt in the past few days. At this moment, Sword Emperor continued to speak to Li Taibai. "Little brother, back then my brother and I were both prodigies of the Sword Sect. The two of us practiced the sword together and in the end we both reached the level of great success in the Tao of the sword." "Oh, isn't that good?" Li Taibai slowly said after hearing the Sword Emperor's recollection. "It's indeed quite good. I originally thought so too. Later on we joined different camps. I became one of the 10 great generals under my lord and the Sword Emperor's reputation shook the entire divine realm." The Sword Emperor sighed. "At that time for various reasons, I had no choice but to fight him. You know the final outcome. It's just like what you saw. In order to not bring trouble to the arrow and sword realm, I sealed this place. As for me, I was also suppressed at the bottom of the lake by my younger brother for hundreds of years." When Li Taibai heard the Sword Emperor's words, he nodded his head in agreement. Then she walked towards him. The Sword Emperor and the Sword Immortal had fought to seal this place. Perhaps it was because there were too many enemies here. Without two top-notch combatants, there was no one to protect this world. With this thought in mind, Jian Huang's voice sounded again. "Little brother, don't worry. Since I'm back, I'll give you the snow lotus and restore the connection between this world and the divine realm." Li Taibai nodded at the Sword Emperor. Right now, he also knew that he couldn't rush the matter of obtaining the snow lotus. After all, he was Di Tian's subordinate. His relationship with his master and Di Tian was actually quite good. However, when he thought of the Yin-Yang bird in the God Burial Mountain range, Li Taibai continued to speak to the Sword Emperor. When the Yin-Yang bird used the spatial tunnel, the spatial coordinates here were already exposed. At this moment, the Sword Emperor continued to walk toward Li Taibai. "Yes, before that Yin-Yang bird became the god of God Burial Mountain range, I helped him once. Because of his own ability, he can help me temporarily save the spatial coordinates." Li Taibai slowly nodded his head when he heard what the Sword Emperor said. In this way, Master's plan for coming to the divine realm this time seemed very far-reaching. First, he followed the Blue Luan of the Demon Race Hall to the God Burial Mountain range. First, he would use Senior Phoenix's strength to intimidate the Yin-Yang bird. In the end, he rescued the Sword Emperor from the bottom of the lake and came here again to use the Yin-Yang bird to break open the spatial passageway. From the looks of it, his master's arrangements were all around this space. With that thought in mind, Li Taibai also thought of Alpha in the courtyard. With the heavens as the chessboard, Alpha was his master's divine beast. In that case, the ability was naturally imparted by his master. In that case, it was understandable that his master used the heavens as a chessboard. It turned out that his master wanted to let this space continue to connect with the divine world and let him obtain the snow lotus. Thinking of this, Li Taibai admired Xiao Changtian's plan. At this moment, the Sword Emperor came before Li Taibai and said, "Little brother, is there a problem?" Hearing the Sword Emperor's words, Li Taibai slowly recovered from his thoughts. He smiled at the Sword Emperor and waved his hand. "No, I haven't." The Sword Emperor looked at Li Taibai and smiled apologetically. These few days he had been immersed in his own world because of some old things. After saying it out loud, the Sword Emperor became much more clear-headed. Then, thinking of Xiao Changtian and Li Taibai's strength, he had to find an opportunity. Help them find the snow lotus. His current mission was to find his lord, Tion, on the mountain peak of the Arrow sect. At this moment, the sect leader of Arrow sect was standing in front of the main hall at the top of the mountain, looking down at the foot of the mountain. Black Wind's figure slowly appeared in his eyes, and behind him was a group of cultivators. Looking at their appearance, they were dressed in all kinds of clothes. Some were dressed in Taoist robes, some were dressed in upper bodies. Everyone came to the foot of the mountain and looked at the Black Wind above. A man with a naked upper body also said to him, "Haifeng, is it true that you gathered everyone here?" "Yes, quickly ask your father to come out and explain. However, he is also a famous figure in the divine realm. If you want to make fun of us, it won't be right." "That's right, that matter concerns the rise and fall of our arrow and sword world." With the half-naked man taking the lead, the others followed suit. Black Wind was about to say something as he commanded the group of Arrow sect elders and disciples to maintain order. A figure slowly descended from the sky. Chapter 404 Chapter 404, Killing the Sword Sect? Chapter 404, Killing the Sword Sect. In the small space in front of the Arrow sect's mountain peak, a figure slowly descended from the sky. Seeing the appearance of this figure, everyone present slowly shut their mouths. The figure slowly landed in front of everyone. His figure stopped in midair and smiled at everyone. Everyone calmed down. After the Arrow sect's sect leader finished speaking, everyone below looked at him, waiting for his next words. "I don't need to explain the reason why I summoned you all here. I believe my son has already told you all." The sect leader of the Arrow sect looked at the crowd that had quieted down and continued to speak. At the same time, he placed his hands behind his back, and the aura on his body faintly leaked out. Upon hearing the words of the Arrow sect's sect leader, the man with the bare upper body took a step forward. He first cupped his fists at the Arrow sect's sect master who was floating in the air, then slowly said, "Greetings, Black Arrow God King. We came here to receive news from your sect's young master. I wonder if it's true that the Arrow sect found the way to contact the Arrow Sword realm and the Divine realm." As he spoke, the half-naked man also lowered his head. He did not have the rough aura he had when he faced Black Wind. After all, there were only two God Kings in the entire Arrow Sword realm. One of them was right in front of him, the head of the Arrow sect, God King Black Arrow. The other was the current sect master of the Sword sect, Divine King White Plum. Both of them represented the top combat strength of the Arrow and Sword realm. Although the topless man was usually unrestrained, he would not jump around in front of the godly king. When the Arrow sect's sect master heard the words of the topless man, he chuckled. "I was wondering who it was. So it's the Desolate clan leader. What my son said is naturally true. With the reputation of my Arrow sect, do I need to lie to you?" While speaking, the head of the Arrow sect slowly swept his gaze across the faces of the crowd. The half-naked man was also the chief of a relatively powerful tribe in the Arrow Sword realm. The Desolate tribe had always been a blacksmith for a living. They were very famous in the entire Arrow and Sword world. It could be said that all the spiritual weapons used by the cultivators in the entire Arrow and Sword realm came from their clan. After the Arrow sect's sect master finished speaking, everyone below started whispering. The Arrow sect has already found a way to contact the God realm. The dream of the ancestors for 100 years has finally come true. That's right. If I can go to the legendary divine world, my cultivation might break through. Isn't that so? I heard that the spiritual energy in the divine realm is dozens of times more than on our path. Seeing everyone whispering, the Arrow sect's sect master in the air also revealed a smile. He stroked his chin and continued to speak to the people below. "Everyone, don't be anxious. Let me explain slowly." Hearing the Arrow sect's sect leader speak again, everyone present fell silent again. The way to contact the divine realm is in the hands of the Sword sect. Besides, according to my speculation, the reason why we haven't been able to contact each other for so many years is because of the Sword sect. The words of the Arrow sect's sect master were like a huge rock that hit the calm lake below. Today he invited those tribes that were searching for the divine realm. This was because their clan leader more or less had some old fellows with good strength. In order to maintain their lifespan, they were all looking for a path to the divine world. It would be strange if they didn't explode after hearing what he said. What? The Sword sect actually has the method to go to the divine world and even keeps it for themselves? They really don't put us in their eyes. That's right. The sword sect even blocked our path to the divinity. They're the scum of the arrow and sword world. At the foot of the arrow sect's mountain, all kinds of curses and curses against the sword sect kept ringing out. However, some people remained rational. The whole arrow and sword world knew that the arrow sect and sword sect were not on good terms. A while ago he heard that the arrow sect even chased them out of their ancestral land during their fight. Perhaps the arrow sect was using someone else to kill him. At this moment, the archery sect's sect leader naturally saw the expressions of those people. He waved his hand at Black Wind beside him. Black Wind came to his side. The arrow sect's sect master looked at him and slowly said, "Haifeng, tell us what happened when you were killing the holy virgin of the sword sect." When Haifeng heard the sword sect master's words, he also took a step forward and said to everyone, "Everyone, to tell you the truth, I was ordered to kill the holy virgin of the sword sect a while ago, but I encountered an unknown expert who killed my third uncle. Do you know what kind of person in the arrow sword realm is capable of killing my third uncle?" "What? The third elder of the arrow sect is dead?" After Black Wind finished speaking, the people below started whispering again. "That's a god monarch. How can he be killed so easily? If you want to kill him, you have to be at least at the god king level. Our arrow sword realm only has 2 god kings. If it's not the sword sect master, then it's..." Everyone analyzed and seemed to understand something. After hearing Black Wind's words, those who were hesitating also began to waver. After all, if he wanted to kill them with a borrowed knife, there was indeed no need to tell them so much shameful news. Moreover, if they followed the sect leader of the arrow sect over, if they really saw an unknown powerhouse, this meant that the arrow and sword realm was connected to the divine realm. It was cut off by sword sect. At this moment, the desolate clan leader was the first to take the lead and walk out. Just like before, he took the lead and cupped his fists at the arrow sect master. "Black Arrow God King, we're willing to follow you to sword sect as long as we discover their actions. Then we will definitely eliminate the evil for the arrow and sword realm." With the leader of the desolate clan leader, the other factions were also in high spirits. A few of the older elders raised their fists and waved them in the air. "The desolate clan leader is right. Let's go to the sword sect to take a look. If there really is an unknown expert, we must press him to the ground and rub him." "That's right. The sword sect actually dared to cut off our cultivation future. They must have colluded with the outside world." Waves of shouts rose in the air. At this moment, the sect leader of the arrow sect spoke again. "Since everyone has such thoughts, I can rest assured. I've already checked the location of the sword sect for everyone. Please follow me." As he spoke, the sect leader of the arrow sect waved his sleeve. A huge spirit ship appeared in the air. The spirit ship was formed by a skull. At this moment, the arrow sect disciples were already standing on the platform. It seemed that the sect leader of arrow sect had already prepared everything. Following that, under the lead of Black Wind, everyone below slowly stepped onto the spirit ship. Chapter 405 Chapter 405. Beat those 2 people up, 1. Chapter 405. Beat those 2 people up, 1. Small space above the village. The arrow sect master stood on the bow of the spirit ship and looked down with flickering eyes. Through this plan, most of the cultivators in the entire arrow and sword world had gathered on the spirit ship. These cultivators were the tribal leaders who had been trying to find the divine world for many years. This time, the sword sect will definitely perish. The sect leader of arrow sect said. He clenched his fists tightly and his eyes revealed a trace of determination. As long as the sword sect was destroyed, then their arrow sect would be the only overlord in the arrow sword world. At this moment, an arrow sect disciple also came before the arrow sect master. First, she cupped her fists at him. Then she slowly said to him, "Sect master, according to the news, the group of people from the sword sect is hiding in the village below." When the sect leader of the arrow sect heard this disciple's words, he waved his hand at him. Then the disciple left. At the same time, the arrow sect master slowly turned around and looked at the people on the spirit ship. "Everyone, the people from the sword sect are hiding below. It doesn't matter if you believe me or not. If you want an answer, go down and investigate it yourself." As soon as he finished speaking, the arrow sect master slowly walked to the middle of the spirit ship. The true essence in his body gathered and poured into the spirit ship. Then a passage appeared in front of everyone. Walking, going, looking, all come here, we are afraid of those people? After the sect leader of the Arrow sect finished speaking, the Desolate clan leader looked at the people in front of him and slowly said. Then he jumped down. Whoosh. As the Arrow sect's sect leader's figure descended, some of the Arrow sect's disciples also followed. At the same time as they got off the spirit ship, Black Wind also waved his hand. The few Arrow sect disciples also slowly controlled their spirit ships. He aimed the bow of the ship at the village where the Sword sect was located. Then Black Wind's arm descended from above. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Under Black Wind's command, the group of Arrow sect disciples slowly injected their true essence into the spirit ship. True essence was injected into the light ball of the spirit ship at the bow of the spirit ship. Arrows condensed from true essence flew down. At this moment, at the entrance of the Sword sect's village, 2 Sword sect disciples stood in front of the village gate and looked at the sky. Suddenly, arrows the size of raindrops appeared before their eyes. What's that? Looking at the dense number of arrows in the sky, the Sword sect disciples slowly said to their companions. At this moment, another Sword sect disciple also looked up into the sky. Not good, quickly report to Elder Bai and the others that there's an enemy attack. As soon as he finished speaking, the Sword sect disciple even pushed his companion beside him. Then a sky full of arrows appeared before their eyes. Ah! The Sword sect's gatekeeping disciple was killed by the arrows and let out a series of miserable cries. At this moment, another disciple of the Sword sect was also looking at the miserable state of his companion in front of him. He ran into the village. Not good, there's an enemy attack, an enemy attack. As the disciple shouted in the village, a few streams of light flew over from the village. Then Elder Bai and the others appeared in front of the disciple. Elder Bai, there's an enemy attack. The disciple slowly said to Elder Bai upon seeing his appearance. Elder Bai looked at the arrows that had landed at the village gate with a gloomy expression. Even without the disciple's explanation, he knew that their courtyard had been attacked. It must be those 2 guys. Elder Bai waved his sleeve and walked out of the village. Inform the villagers to enter a state of full alert. Following Elder Bai's voice, the disciple continued to walk into the village. At this moment, a large group of tribal cultivators gathered outside the Sword sect village. It was heading towards the courtyard of the Sword sect. Who dares to invade my Sword faction? As the group of cultivators advanced, an old and powerful voice slowly sounded in the air. Then Elder Bai's figure slowly appeared in the sky in front of the tribal cultivators. Elder Bai stood in midair and looked at the cultivators below. The aura on his body was unobstructed. Peak Divine Lord. Seeing Elder Bai in the air, the other tribe cultivators also slowed down their pace. The Desolate clan leader took the lead and took a step forward. He bowed to Elder Bai who was in the sky. Elder Bai, we don't have any ill intentions towards your sect. It's just that we've recently heard some rumors about your sect. I have some doubts in my heart and wanted to come to your sect to verify it. Elder Bai sneered when he heard the words of the Desolate clan leader. Oh, Desolate clan leader, I'm very interested now. What is it that actually made you come here personally to verify? I'm afraid it's a lie to ask for confirmation. It's true that you want to invade my Sword sect. Hearing Elder Bai's cold voice, the Desolate clan leader was not angry. Elder Bai, we just need to go in and investigate. I hope you won't stop us. Now, in the heart of the Desolate clan leader, he only wanted to confirm if those unknown experts really existed. If it didn't exist, they wouldn't be so stupid as to be used by the sect leader of the Arrow sect. At this moment, Elder Bai also slowly said to him, if you want to know anything, just ask me. If you continue to move forward, don't blame me for being impolite. At this moment, Elder Bai also raised the aura on his body by a notch. His voice also increased in decibel. The Desolate clan leader also sighed. The divine world was really too attractive to them. The true essence in his body slowly gathered, and he was about to attack Elder Bai. Although Elder Bai was a peak divine lord, his strength had also reached the level of a divine lord. He was not familiar with him and was afraid of him. At this moment, a voice slowly sounded in the air. What happened? Following this voice, 2 figures slowly arrived behind Elder Bai. They were Li Tai Bai and the Sword Emperor. When they were in the village just now, the 2 of them had also planned to look for Sect Master Bai Mei. He wanted to see if he could obtain their ancestral items peacefully. However, he did not expect to see a group of Sword sect disciples panicking as soon as he stepped out. So she followed him out to take a look. With the appearance of Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor, everyone's eyes were focused on them. Did you see that? I feel that their aura doesn't come from the arrow and sword realm. Although they're mortals, their clothes definitely don't belong to our arrow and sword realm. Looks like the arrow sect leader didn't lie to us. Everyone, let's attack together and beat those two into a pulp. Seeing Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor, the tribal cultivators were all excited. His primeval essence gathered on his body and was about to charge over. At this moment they had completely put down their worries. Chapter 406 Chapter 406. It's time to settle our debts. 1. Chapter 406. It's time to settle our debts. 1. Small space outside the Sword Sect village. Elder Bai looked at Li Tai-bai and Sword Emperor who were standing beside him. The two of you still dare to come out? Sect Master should have listened to me back then and chased you out to silence you. As he spoke, Elder Bai was also furious. Looking at the infatuated expressions on the faces of the people below, it was obvious that the relationship between the two of them and the people from the Arrow sect wasn't ordinary. His judgment back then was correct. However, it's not too late yet. By killing you we can also suppress their morale. At this time, Elder Bai had already gathered some true essence in his hand. He was about to attack Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor. Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor watched Elder Bai's actions, but their expressions didn't change. At this moment, the voice of the desolate clan leader sounded in their ears. Elder Bai, I'm afraid it's too late for you to kill me now. The desolate clan leader came to Elder Bai's side and also waved his palm at Elder Bai. Bang! The palms of Elder Bai and the desolate clan leader collided, and a wave of air burst out in the air. Elder Bai looked at the desolate clan leader who was blocking in front of him and smiled. You guys came just in time. Elder Bai continued to welcome the desolate clan leader after his words sounded. Bang! The two of them started fighting in the air. At the same time, the cultivators of the other tribes below were also fighting with the Sword Sect cultivators who had come out of the village. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, the elder of the Arrow sect and the other disciples were standing behind the tribal cultivator. Each of them had a longbow in their hands and shot out arrows. At this moment, a huge sword formation was formed in front of the Sword Sect disciples. Bang! As soon as the sword formation appeared, it blocked the arrows of the Arrow Sect disciples. It made a series of sounds. Then the Sword Sect master's figure slowly appeared in front of everyone. He was dressed in white and held a long sword. As soon as he appeared, he waved the long sword in his hand in front of him. A wave of sword chi with the cultivation of a god king swept past the tribal cultivators. Ah! The tribal cultivators screamed and fell to the ground one after another. Upon seeing the appearance of his sect leader, Elder Bai also exchanged a blow with the desolate clan leader and pulled away. Sect Master, those two are definitely spies. Sect Master, please? Before Elder Bai could finish speaking, he saw the Sword Sect Master glance at him. A force descended on his body, and Elder Bai immediately shut his mouth. At the same time, Sword Sect leader's figure flashed and appeared in front of Li Tai-bai and Sword Emperor. He slowly said to them, I'm sorry, something seems to have happened in the sect and disturbed the two of you. Hearing the Sword Sect Master's words, Li Tai-bai smiled at him and did not say anything else. At this moment, another godly king's aura appeared in the sky above the tribal cultivators. It blocked the Sword Sect Master's aura. At this moment, the sect master of the Arrow sect slowly appeared above the tribal cultivators. Black Wind and a few Arrow sect elders followed him. By May, is this a person from the divine realm? He is indeed extraordinary. It's a pity that they're just two mortals. They should have quite a number of spirit weapons on them. As he said this, the archery sect leader's gaze swept across Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor. When he was on the spirit ship just now, he had confirmed it with Black Wind. It was these two people who killed the third brother. After hearing the words of the sect leader of the Arrow sect, Divine King White Plum was stunned for a moment before quickly adjusting and not saying anything. On the other hand, Elder Bai was a little dumbfounded when he heard the words of the Arrow sect leader. Weren't these two spies sent by them? Why did they talk about the divine realm? The divine realm was an ancient legend. While the Sword Sect disciples were confused, the tribal cultivators who had followed the Arrow sect master over were delighted. Sword Sect, you are the biggest threat to the Arrow and Sword realm. Hand over the two mortals and destroy your own sect, and we might spare your lives. That's right. I wonder what it's like to be immortal in the outside world. It's best to use it as a memorial. A series of mocking voices rang out from below. At this moment, the sword sect master also smiled. The true essence in his body gathered, and the sword formation just now turned from defense to attack. Sharp sword chi flew out. Sword sect disciple, attack at will. As soon as he finished speaking, the sword sect master held his long sword and flew toward the arrow sect master opposite him. Kill? After the sword sect master took the lead, the morale of the sword sect members behind him was also high. They charged towards the tribal cultivators. For a time, both sides were entangled in battle again. The arrow sect master smiled when he saw the sword sect master coming towards him. By May, you escaped last time. It seems that you don't intend to escape this time. Previously, in the ancestral land of the sword sect, the sect leader of the arrow sect had wanted to fight By May. Unexpectedly, By May made a prompt decision. She did not even want her ancestral land and moved all the disciples of the sword sect away. Black Arrow, why are you so talkative? The White Plum sect master slashed at Black Arrow God King. Instantly, a sword chi flew past the arrow sect master. At this moment, the arrow sect master looked at the sword sect master and smiled. Let's leave those two mortals in our hands for now. After hearing his words, the sword sect master slowed down his pace of attack. He looked behind him and saw the young master of arrow sect, Black Wind, standing in front of Li Tai-bai and Sword Emperor. You guys are really awesome. Last time you actually succeeded in using the tiger's might. Tell me, how am I going to settle this score with you this time? The true essence on Black Wind's body continued to rise as he looked at the two people in front of him with a smile. You're right. It's time to settle our scores. Li Tai-bai smiled at Haifeng and said slowly. Young lord, after we capture that mortal, the arrow sword world will be ours. We'll show them the hospitality of our archery world. Hearing the words below, Black Wind's face was also filled with smiles. As long as he controlled these two people, then those tribes that wanted to investigate the divine realm would be restricted by them. Moreover, if he were to capture it himself, his position in the sect would be even more stable in the future. As he calculated in his heart, Black Wind also imagined the situation of him unifying the arrow sword world in the future. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. There's no cure for the country. Li Tai-bai looked at the Black Wind in front of him and shook his head. At this moment, Black Wind heard Li Tai-bai's words and attacked him. Whoosh! Li Tai-bai closed his eyes as he looked at the Black Wind. A sword ray flew past him and easily pierced through the space between Black Wind's eyebrows. Blood splattered in the air. Chapter 407 Chapter 407, Piercing the Spirit Ship with a Sword, 1. Chapter 407, Piercing the Spirit Ship with a Sword, 1. Small space, Sword Sect Village. A stream of blood slowly floated in the air. Then, everyone saw Black Wind's figure slowly fall in front of Li Tai-bai. Young Master. An elder of the arrow sect shouted and came to Black Wind's side. He held Haifeng, who was lying on the ground, in his arms. At this moment, a small bloody hole had appeared between Haifeng's eyebrows in the embrace of the elder of the arrow sect. The changes on Black Wind's side also attracted the attention of the sword sect master and the arrow sect master. Both of them stopped what they were doing and looked in the direction of Black Wind. At this moment, the elder of the arrow sect looked at Haifeng in his arms and shook his head at the sect leader of the arrow sect. Oh! When the sect leader of the arrow sect saw the elder's reaction, he let out a long sigh. Then he looked up at the sky and closed his eyes. Everyone see? This person from the outside world is so sinister. He must have some incredible treasure on him. I, Black Arrow, hereby promise that if I kill those two mortals today, the treasures on his body will belong to whoever I kill. As he spoke, God King Black Arrow looked at the tribe cultivators below with a hint of anger in his voice. Hearing the words of the arrow sect master, the tribal cultivators who were originally a little flustered because of Haifeng's sudden collapse immediately calmed down. One of the tribe cultivators looked at Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor and licked his lips. The treasures of the divine realm are mine. As soon as he finished speaking, the tribal cultivator flew toward Li Tai-bai. Don't fight for it. The treasure is mine. With a tribe cultivator taking the lead, the cultivators behind him naturally followed suit. At the same time, The disciples of the arrow sect standing at the back also aimed their longbows at Li Taibai. For a moment, other than the people from the sword sect, almost everyone wanted to attack Li Taibai and the others. "How dare you kill our young master?" A sneer flashed across the face of an elder of the arrow sect. The arrow on the longbow in his hand surged with spiritual power and shot towards Li Taibai. In this mission to attack the sword sect, their mission was to protect Black Wind. Now that Haifeng's fate was unknown, it was easy to imagine what kind of punishment they would receive when they returned. In the air, Sword Sect Master Bai Mei saw that the tribe cultivators and the arrow sect were about to attack Li Taibai. His figure flashed, wanting to go over and help them. "You can stay here, Bai Mei. The hatred of killing your son is irreconcilable." As she spoke, the arrow sect master also attacked the sword sect master, blocking her path. "Die." A series of voices rang out in the ears of Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor. At this moment, Li Taibai also raised one hand and clenched his fist at the people who were attacking him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. An extremely powerful aura burst out from Li Taibai's body. Bang. As soon as Li Taibai's aura spread out, a layer of airwaves burst out with him as the center. What happened? Sensing the aura coming from Li Taibai, the tribal cultivators slowed down their pace. "Why is the aura of that mortal so strange? I can't detect it at all," a tribal cultivator said to the crowd, when his holy sense swept across Li Taibai's body. At this moment, Li Taibai gave him the feeling that he was in an abyss. He didn't know if there was any aura in his body. Then, under everyone's gaze, the swords in the hands of the sword sect disciples behind Li Taibai flew out. "One strike will definitely hit." Li Taibai clenched his fists, placed his middle and index fingers on his shoulders, and pushed forward. The flying swords of the sword sect disciples floating around him were like homing missiles that attacked the tribal cultivators. "Not good, everyone run." Among the tribal cultivators, someone shouted first. When the sword sect disciples unsheathed their flying swords, the tribal cultivators had begun to doubt whether Li Taibai was a mortal or not. At this moment, the flying sword attacked and he felt an invincible aura from those tribal cultivators no longer had the boldness they had when they attacked. They all ran behind him. "Can you leave?" Li Taibai looked at the fleeing tribe cultivator and said slowly. Then the sword sect disciples' flying swords pierced through the bodies of the tribal cultivators. Ah! Miserable screams rang out in the air. Soon, the corpses of tribal cultivators whose auras could no longer be detected lay on the ground. "And you guys?" Li Taibai didn't have much of a reaction to what was happening in front of him, as if everything was going as he had expected. Originally, when Elder Bai had repeatedly reprimanded them, he did not intend to take the initiative to attack. It was these cultivators who took the initiative to provoke him. Li Taibai looked at the elder of the arrow sect in the distance. The palm in his hand changed again, and the true essence in his body flowed. For a moment, the flying swords above his head gathered together. Bang! The flying sword first turned into fragments, dancing in the air. What is he trying to do? An elder of the arrow sect looked at Li Taibai shattering all the flying swords and was also puzzled. At the same time, his feet were trembling. After saying that, he was about to run behind him. At this moment, the arrow sect master was looking down at the corpses. He was the first to react. His true essence gathered in his throat and he shouted at the others. "Everyone, don't panic. He must have used something extraordinary. Now that the flying sword has shattered, it's the best proof. If everyone attacks together, we can definitely..." Before the arrow sect master could finish his sentence, he saw something in the air. The fragments of the flying sword that Li Taibai had crushed earlier were slowly gathering together. A huge flying sword slowly formed in the air. "One strike will definitely hit." Looking at the flying sword that he had created, Li Taibai smiled. He pointed at a certain spot in mid-air. With a swoosh, the flying sword tore through the air. "Run." An elder of the arrow sect ran away without listening to the leader of the arrow sect. The direction in which the arrow sect elders fled was where their spirit ship was. Only with the speed of the spirit ship could they escape from Li Taibai and escape this calamity. While they were fleeing, they also discovered that a huge shadow flew over their heads. Then they saw the flying sword from earlier pass through their spirit ship with a swoosh. Bang! The spirit ship turned into pieces and scattered in the air. Meanwhile, the group of arrow sect elders were also dumbfounded. Chapter 408 Chapter 408 Chapter 408 The Death of the Arrow Sect. Chapter 408 Chapter 408 The Death of the Arrow Sect. In the small space outside the Sword Sect village, the group of Arrow Sect elders saw their spirit ship being pierced by Li Taibai's flying sword. Their faces were filled with despair. Some of the Arrow Sect elders sat on the ground alone and looked up at the sky with lifeless eyes. It was as if he already knew his ending. Unlike the Arrow Sect, the Sword Sect disciples were all looking at Li Taibai. Every Sword Sect disciple's mouth was wide open. They looked at Li Taibai with reverence in their eyes. Heavens, did I see an immortal? This is what a sword cultivator should be like, a peerless sword cultivator. Compared to you, we can't even compare to an ant. At this moment, Elder Bai was also looking at Li Taibai and muttering, "What peerless swordsman!" The sect master of the Arrow Sect looked at one of the most important foundations of his sect, the spirit ship, which was destroyed. At this moment, his mentality was also somewhat broken. "Brat, you dared to ruin my Arrow Sect's plan. Today I will settle the score with you." As soon as he finished speaking, the Arrow Sect's sect leader seemed to have gone crazy. He slowly raised his right hand and a longbow appeared on his arm. "Do you think you can do whatever you want just because you have the power? Let me tell you, in the arrow and sword world, I, Black Arrow, have the final say." "Die!" The archery sect master shouted at Li Taibai. His voice was somewhat crazed. "One arrow can break 10,000. Brat, die!" The Arrow sect master held a longbow in his hand and his entire body was wrapped in black true essence. Countless true essence surged from his body. In the sky above him, dark clouds gathered and thunder sounded. "Did you see that? The sect leader is attacking in anger. With his strength we might still have a chance." When some of the Arrow Sect elders saw the sect leader of the Arrow Sect attacking with all his might, their hopes were rekindled. It had been many years since they had seen the sect leader of the Arrow Sect personally take action. Before this, their sect master could also collide with the spirit ship without any damage. Today's attack, this power, did not seem to be much inferior to that person from the divine world just now. Li Taibai looked at the way the sect leader of Arrow Sect attacked him. He said casually, "Your posture is quite good. Unfortunately, there's a good distance between you and those brick-moving people in Master's courtyard." Li Taibai reached out his hand to the sect leader of the Arrow Sect. Whoosh! An arrow flew out from the Arrow sect leader's hand and then split into three. Inferring from one instance, this is sect master's best move. This kid is going to die for sure. The arrow in the air changed. From the beginning to the end, it split into 3 arrows. The elders of the Arrow Sect also said excitedly. At the same time, Li Taibai clenched his fists at the 3 arrows, and true essence flashed across his body. Before the arrow could reach Li Taibai, it exploded in the air. Bang! The arrow exploded and turned into starlight. Sword Emperor also walked out from beside Li Taibai and said slowly to him, "Little brother, this guy's ancestor and one have some relationship, leave it to me." As the sound of his voice faded, the Sword Emperor's figure flashed and he appeared in mid-air. The Sword Sect Master stood at the side and watched everything that happened in front of him from beginning to end. On the surface he looked calm, but his heart was also surging. Fortunately, he trusted Mooner's judgment and took care of these 2 people. Otherwise, the outcome of the Arrow Sect will be our own outcome. While the Sword Sect Master was thinking, the Sword Emperor arrived in front of the Arrow Sect Master. "For the sake of the Archery Emperor, I'll give you a quick death today," the Sword Emperor said slowly to the Archery Sect Master in front of him, a look of reminiscence in his eyes. Then, he drew his sword from behind him and swung it at the Arrow Sect leader. At this moment, the Arrow Sect Master had yet to react to Li Taibai's actions. He was locked onto by another aura and looked at the Sword Emperor. God Emperor? He couldn't sense Li Taibai's aura, but the Sword Emperor's aura was different. He had truly felt it. This was exactly the same as the cultivation of his ancestor, the Archery Emperor, recorded in his ancestral home. What did they say just now? Archery Emperor? So it was someone who had a relationship with their ancestors. No wonder. Before the Archery Sect leader could even finish his thoughts, the sword light created by the Sword Emperor's sword had already sliced through his body. Bang! Being hit by the Sword Emperor, the sect leader of the Arrow Sect spat out a mouthful of blood as he looked at the Sword Emperor in the air. It's a pity that the 100-year-old foundation of the Arrow sect was destroyed in my hands. As soon as he finished speaking, the body of the Arrow sect's sect master also fell from the sky. The sect master is gone. An elder of the Arrow sect looked at everything in front of him with disbelief in his eyes. Their sect master, Black Arrow God King, was originally an invincible existence in the Arrow Sword realm. They thought that it could bring them hope, but they did not expect the myths to still fall. What was left for them was only despair. The Sword Sect's sect master bowed to the Sword Emperor and Li Tai-bai as he watched the Arrow Sect's sect master slowly descend from the sky. Bai Mei greets the two seniors. Elder Bai led the disciples of the Sword Sect and bowed to Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor. We've seen a peerless swordsman. The Sword Emperor and Li Tai-bai looked at the Sword Sect members and smiled at them. Then Li Tai-bai walked up to the Sword Sect members. Everyone, there's no need to be so restrained. Just be like before. As soon as he finished speaking, the Sword Emperor also signaled for the Sword Sect to not be so reserved. At this moment, Elder Bai arrived beside Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor. Seniors, what should we do with those people from Arrow Sect? Sword Sect and Arrow Sect had been fighting for hundreds of years. The reason why Elder Bai treated Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor as spies at the beginning was because he was afraid that the Sword Emperor and Li Tai-bai would be killed. It was also because of the Arrow Sect. At this moment, Li Tai-bai turned around and glanced at the surviving elders of the Arrow Sect. Up to you. The strength of the remaining people could not be compared to Elder Bai and the others. Naturally, they had come here to ask for help from others. There was no harm in giving those people to them to handle. Hearing Li Tai-bai's words, Elder Bai also retreated and gave a look to the few Sword Sect elders. Then he flew towards the elder of the Arrow Sect. After Elder Bai left, the Sword Sect's sect master came to Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor. First he bowed respectfully to me. Then he slowly said, I wonder where you two come from. With your strength, you shouldn't be unknown in the Arrow and Sword realm. When the Sword Sect's sect master spoke, he was unhurried as if he was chatting with ordinary friends. At this moment, the Sword Emperor glanced at the Sword Sect disciples behind him. The Sword Sect master understood and said to the people behind him, Everyone go back and prepare. There will be a banquet in the village tonight. As soon as he finished speaking, the Sword Sect disciples slowly left. Chapter 409 Chapter 409, Trap, 1. Chapter 409, Trap, 1. Small space, Sword Sect village. The White Plum God King sent his disciples away and glanced at the Sword Emperor and Li Tai-bai. At this moment, the Sword Emperor slowly said to her, I know what you are thinking. Where are the ancestral items of the sect? The Sword Sect's sect master was equally wary when he heard about ancestral items. Although the two of you helped the Sword Sect escape today, the ancestor has given the order regarding the ancestral item. Please forgive me. I wonder where you two are from. If you have some relationship with my Sword Sect, the matter of the ancestral item. Before the Sword Sect master could finish speaking, the Sword Emperor waved his hand. Wasn't the Sword Sect master trying to find out their origins? At this moment, Li Tai-bai also said to the Sword Sect master slowly, To tell you the truth, we are indeed the same as those people just now. We are from the divine realm. Li Tai-bai didn't waste any more words and directly told him his background. At this moment, the Sword Sect master's expression changed when he heard Li Tai-bai. The divine realm is really something that people yearn for. Speaking of which, our Sword Sect has some relations with the divine realm. If the two of you want to see the ancestral artifact of our Sword Sect, please follow me. As soon as he finished speaking, the Sword Sect master took the lead and flew to a corner of the village. At this moment, Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor looked at each other and followed. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 streaks of light flew past the Sword Sect village. Under the lead of the Sword Sect master, Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor slowly appeared beside a waterfall. Looking at the waterfall in front of him, the Sword Sect master said to Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor, The ancestral treasure of our Sword Sect is placed in the cave behind the waterfall. Due to the orders of our ancestors, I won't accompany the two of you in. As he spoke, the Sword Sect master also had a smile on his face. At this moment, Li Tai-bai didn't think too much and walked directly towards the waterfall. The Sword Emperor followed behind him. In front of the waterfall was a small lake. Li Tai-bai and the Sword Emperor were walking on a stone path. At this moment, the sword sect master who was standing on the shore, looked at the two people on the stone path. The true essence in her hand slowly gathered and then gathered in the small lake in front of her. The water in the lake continued to surge, forming water curtains that surrounded the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai. The Sword Emperor and Li Taibai were stunned when they saw the water curtain suddenly rise up. They all looked at the sword sect master on the shore. "I'm sorry, the two of you. Our ancestors have ordered that our sword sect has the obligation to kill anyone who comes from the outside world. I've seen how powerful the two of you are, so I could only lure the two of you here." At this moment, a sword appeared in the sword sect master's hand as he slowly explained to Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor. As the sword in the sword sect master's hand danced, the surrounding water curtain began to change. The water screen changed and then water dragons appeared in front of the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai. Ancestor said that this array can kill God Monarch realm experts. "The two of you take this. 10,000 swords, water tornado." As soon as the sword sect master finished speaking, the sword in his hand stabbed down from top to bottom. Then, the water dragons around the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai let out a series of roars. He wanted to charge into his body. Using water to borrow power is a good idea. Unfortunately, you haven't comprehended it yet. Li Taibai also swung his sword when he saw the water dragon charging at him. Immediately, the water dragon was strangled and turned into water that returned to the lake. However, just as the water entered the lake, it gathered on the ground with a bang and formed water dragons again. At this moment, Li Taibai also said to the sword sect master slowly, "We're also very sorry, but it's really difficult to disobey master's orders." The snow lotus was the ingredient that Xiao Changtian had ordered him to find. If he couldn't find it, he wouldn't have the face to go back and see Xiao Changtian. At this moment, Li Taibai also glanced at the waterfall behind him. The water of the Yellow River rises from the heavens. As Li Taibai's voice fell, the waterfall behind him also surged. Then the water formed a huge sword above Li Taibai. "One strike will definitely hit." Li Taibai then pointed at the water dragon in front of him, and the huge sword flew over. Bang! The long sword stabbed into the bodies of the water dragons. Unlike before, the water dragons could not turn into water and enter the lake. He could only let out a series of angry roars on the spot. Looking at the water dragon on the ground, the sword sect master kept waving the sword in his hand. However, no matter how hard the water dragons struggled, they could not break free from the sword. At this moment, Li Taibai also looked at the sword sect master. "We won't make things difficult for you. Where is the ancestral item? We just need to borrow it." Hearing Li Taibai's words, the sword sect master's expression turned grim. A small dagger slowly appeared in his hand. The dagger was shaped like a small sword. There were black and white decorations on the hilt. As soon as the dagger appeared, the sword sect master slowly injected his true essence into it. In an instant, the dagger emitted a bright light. At the same time, the water dragons turned into streams of water. He broke free from the restraints of the long sword and entered the lake. When the dagger appeared, the Sword Emperor looked at the dagger in the sword sect master's hand and didn't speak for a long time. "You guys have protected this dagger very well." The Sword Emperor looked at the dagger in the sword sect master's hand and suddenly said. Then he waved his hand at the dagger in the hands of the sword sect master. The sword sect master felt as if the dagger in his hand had been summoned. It flew out of his control and into the Sword Emperor's hand. How was this possible? The sword sect master looked at the dagger that flew out, his eyes filled with disbelief. This dagger had been passed down from generation to generation. It had never lost control before. Even if they encountered a strong enemy, they could rely on him to turn misfortune into good fortune every time. However, it was the first time that they had escaped their control. There was only one way to get the dagger out of his control. That was to know how to control the dagger like him. However, this ancestral item control technique could only be learned by the sword sect masters. The other sword sect members did not have the chance to learn it at all. They did not even know that there was such a cultivation technique. Not to mention that the two people in front of him were not from their sword sect. At this moment, outside the sword sect village, Elder Bai led a few sword sect elders and slowly landed on the ground. They looked at the sword sect disciples in front of them. She also slowly said to him, "Where is the sect master? Where are the other two seniors?" The disciple was busy with the banquet when he heard Elder Bai's words. He pointed in the direction of the back mountain and said slowly to Elder Bai. The sect master brought them to the back mountain. Upon hearing this disciple's words, Elder Bai also realized something and flew towards the back of the mountain. Chapter 410 Ancestor of the Sword Sect, 1. Chapter 410 Ancestor of the Sword Sect, 1. Back mountain of Sword Sect Village. The Sword Sect Master looked at the Sword Emperor and Li Tai-bai in front of him, his eyes filled with shock. Who exactly are you? The Sword Sect Master's trembling voice sounded in the back mountain. Following which, the Sword Emperor looked at the dagger in his hand and slowly walked towards her. Arriving before the White Plum Divine King, the Sword Emperor sighed. Then he opened his hands and saw the dagger lying peacefully in his hands. Even the dagger was wrapped in a power, looking like a lost child who had found his father. Seeing the dagger in the Sword Emperor's hand, the Sword Sect Master covered his mouth with one hand. The dagger had been passed down from his ancestors. There was another important function, which was to automatically eliminate the interference of other things. As long as it was not someone from the Sword Sect who touched this dagger, the sharp aura on the dagger would attack him. It was simply unbelievable that the dagger was so peaceful in the hands of the Sword Emperor. At this moment, Sword Emperor slowly said to the Sword Sect Master in front of him. Now you know who I am. The Sword Emperor's tone was filled with grief and sadness. Hearing the Sword Emperor's words, the Sword Sect Master seemed to have thought of something. Then he knelt down before the Sword Emperor and placed his hand on his chest. Sword Sect's 28th generation Sect Master, Divine King White Plum greets Ancestor Sword Emperor. The Sword Sect Master's strong voice echoed in the back mountain of the village. As soon as she finished speaking, the Sword Emperor released a gentle true chi from his body. He dragged the Sword Sect Master who was kneeling on the ground up. The 28th generation? Time really flies. The Sword Emperor looked up at the sky and sighed. When the Sword Sect Master heard the Sword Emperor's words, a hint of joy appeared on his face. At this moment, a stream of light flew over from the direction of the village. Then Elder Bai's figure appeared in the back mountain. When he arrived at the back of the mountain, Elder Bai saw the Sword Sect Master kneeling in front of the Sword Emperor. He hurriedly walked over and bowed to the Sword Emperor. Senior, I'm sorry for your collision. Don't worry, we'll cooperate with you if you have any requests. As one of the elders with the highest seniority in the Sword Sect, Elder Bai had also heard of the ancestral teachings of the Sword Sect not allowing people from the divine realm to come. If it were any other expert, they would have seen the Sword Emperor's strength. He had slaughtered the entire Arrow Sect with a single strike. Although this was an ancestral rule, it was still important to save one's life. The Sword Emperor looked at Elder Bai with a smile, but he didn't say anything. Instead, the Sword Sect Master sent a message to Elder Bai. Elder Bai, this is the ancestor of our Sword Sect, the Sword Emperor. What are you talking about? The Sword Sect Master's voice slowly sounded in Elder Bai's mind. At this moment, Elder Bai was also stunned. He looked at the Sword Emperor in front of him and said in disbelief. Sect Master, are you saying that he is he the ancestor of our Sword Sect? Deal with it as you see fit. Isn't there a banquet in the village? I'll go take a look first. After saying that, the Sword Emperor walked towards the Sword Sect village. Then Li Tai-bai looked at the Sword Sect Master and Elder Bai. With a flash, he followed the Sword Emperor into the village. After the Sword Emperor and Li Tai-bai left, the Sword Sect Master slowly stood up. He slowly said to Elder Bai in front of him. It seems that the mission of our Sword Sect for hundreds of years is about to be completed. Then the Sword Sect Master continued to say to Elder Bai. Elder Bai passed down the order. No matter what, everyone in the Sword Sect must attend tonight's banquet. The Sword Sect Master's voice was trembling as if the Sword Sect had found a new life. When Mooner came back, he felt that the Sword Emperor and Li Tai-bai were not ordinary. They did not expect it to be their ancestor. When Elder Bai heard the Sword Sect Master's words, his old face nodded. Then he immediately flew into the distance. He knew better than anyone else what it meant that the Sword Emperor was their ancestor. At the same time in Wu Gong's underground palace, Li Wushuang's figure slowly appeared outside the door of Wu Gong's underground palace. When he arrived at the door, a few experts from the Demon Race Hall walked forward and blocked his path. After losing the competition in the God Burial Mountain Range, Li Wushuang had secretly come to Wu Gong's underground palace to save Nalin Yen and Chu Yuan Shan. However, he did not expect that he had just come out not long ago. The people from the Demon Race's main hall went to harvest the territory of Wu Gong's underground palace, Patriarch Earth Python and Patriarch Nine Nether. He didn't expect that he was still a step too late. Looking at the experts of the Monster Race Hall blocking her way, Li Wushuang sighed in her heart. At this moment, Li Wushuang waved her hand at the two experts from the Monster Race main hall. Brothers, have you forgotten? We've met before in the God Burial Mountain Range. Hearing Li Wushuang's words, the two experts from the Monster Race Hall looked at each other. His gaze swept across Li Wushuang and one of the experts nodded. Li Wushuang was delighted to see the expert from the Monster Race Hall nod. Could it be that his good fortune was coming again? In fact, Li Wushuang didn't know if she had met these two before. In any case, there were so many people in the Demon Race's main hall back in the God Burial Mountain Range. He had just casually said that. Who knew he might really run into them? At this moment, an expert from the Monster Race Hall waved his hand at Li Wushuang. Your name is Li Wushuang, right? I know you. My lord told me to get as far away as possible when I met you. Li Wushuang was stunned when she heard the words of this expert. Then he slowly said to them, Big brothers, are you mistaken? As she spoke, Li Wushuang was still thinking of walking into the hall. At this moment, an expert from the Monster Race Hall pointed his spear at Li Wushuang. Li Wushuang, what do you want? If you take another step forward, don't blame me for being merciless. Feeling the aura of the spear in front of her, Li Wushuang smiled at the two masters of the Monster Race Hall. I'll leave now. As soon as she finished speaking, Li Wushuang flew away without looking back. Li Wushuang let out a sigh of relief after leaving Wu Gong's underground palace. What's wrong with me today? My luck shouldn't be like this recently. Li Wushuang said to the sky and shook her head. Then she felt a gust of wind blowing in front of her. Then she felt dizzy. Wow! Li Wushuang's confused voice came from the air, and then she slowly disappeared. Chapter 411 Chapter 411, Ambush Li Tai-bai? _L. Chapter 411, Ambush Li Tai-bai? _L. Divine Realm in a cave outside Wu Gong's underground palace. Li Wushuang lay on the ground and slowly opened her eyes to look around. It was eerie and not a single ray of light shone in. Then a voice sounded in her ear. Li Wushuang, welcome. Hearing this voice, Li Wushuang was also stunned. She quickly crawled up from the ground. Gathering true essence in his hand, he shouted at the surrounding space. Who is it? Come out. A few figures appeared in front of Li Wushuang. Some of the figures were dressed in light yellow robes, while others were dressed in green robes with python carvings. Seeing these figures, Li Wushuang felt that they were somewhat familiar. She then said to them, Why did you bring me here? The yellow-robed figure standing in the middle smiled. Let me introduce myself. I'm called Wu Huang, the #1 general in the Wu Gong underground palace. Following that, Wu Huang pointed at a green-robed man beside him. Standing beside me is the saint child of the Earth Python sect, Python. You are the remnants of the Wu Gong underground palace and the Earth Python sect, survivors. Li Wushuang looked at them and said slowly. At least you have good taste, Li Wushuang. Time is precious, so we won't say much. We only have one goal, and that is to get back more of the territory we lost. Wu Huang's eyes were fixed on Li Wushuang as he spoke. Take back the territory? Li Wushuang was also stunned by their words. He had thought that they would only ask him for information on how to escape. He didn't expect that he was going to fight with the Demon Palace. Wasn't this like an egg hitting a rock? No, this group of people wants to die. I can't be dragged down by them. With this thought in mind, Li Wushuang slowly said to them. Big brothers, you also know that the Demon Race Hall is now like the sun at noon in the Demon Beast world. The best way to deal with them now is to... What is it? Before Li Wushuang could finish, Wu Huang interrupted her. When he was in Wu Gong's underground palace, he had seen how much Patriarch Wu Gong valued Li Wushuang. Therefore they had to find his whereabouts and bring him here. He did not expect to find a way to deal with the demon race's main hall so quickly. Looking at the expectant eyes of Wu Huang and the others, Li Wushuang swallowed her saliva. What he wanted to say was to persuade them to run away quickly. However, looking at their expressions, if he said that he wanted to run, he would probably be beaten to pieces by them. Li Wuxuang racked her brains and finally said to them, "I'm looking for them to place a single." After thinking about it, Li Wuxuang finally came up with a decent method. There was no other way. The demon race's main hall was so powerful now. First, there were mortals who killed the godly emperor, and then there were chickens that turned into phoenixes. Li Wuxuang couldn't think of any other way to give them a reference other than looking for them who were alone. As soon as Li Wuxuang finished speaking, the python clapped its hands. "Brother Wu Huang, your idea is the best." Before this, he didn't believe Wu Huang when he said that a human like Li Wuxuang was very useful. Upon hearing her words, the python also said happily. Seeing the python's happy expression, Li Wuxuang was also a little confused. Didn't he just say a way to confuse them? The people in the monster palace were in groups, so it was not easy to find a lone person. This method was just a thought. Then the python's voice slowly entered Li Wuxuang's ears. "Brother Wuxuang, to tell you the truth, a few days ago, our scouts came to report. The mortal from the demon race hall has entered the God Burial Mountain range with another person. We were still hesitating whether we should make a move or not. Now that Wuxuang said it, we feel that it makes sense. If we don't make a move this time, I'm afraid we won't have a chance. As long as that mortal dies, the demon race hall won't have any confidence." When it spoke, the python had a hint of excitement. Li Wuxuang looked at the python and was a little confused. This method that he had casually mentioned had left an expert alone in the demon race hall. However, the one who was alone was that mortal. If this group of people went over, wouldn't they be courting death? Li Wuxuang wanted to say something. He saw the python already in front of him and holding his hands. "Brother Wuxuang, since you want to get the job, you should have finished the specific implementation plan." Li Wuxuang looked at the python in front of her and smiled back. "To deal with that mortal, we can only ambush and attack in groups." "Oh, I understand. Brother Wuxuang, you mean to set up an ambush outside the God Burial Mountain range, right?" "That makes sense." The python paced back and forth in front of Li Wuxuang and felt that what she said was very reasonable. Then he came before Wu Huang and said slowly, "Wu Huang, why don't we go all out?" After Wu Huang heard the python's words, he nodded at him. Before this, they had also discussed it. They could either ambush Li Taibai or continue to lie low. Hearing Li Wuxuang's words, they nodded at each other as if they had made up their minds. Then the two of them walked up to Li Wuxuang and said, "I'll have to trouble Brother Wuxuang for this operation." After hearing their words, Li Wuxuang cursed in her heart. Could it be that his bad luck was already good? Not only was he unable to save Nailin Yen and the others, but it also seemed like he was going to be thrown into this as well. "No, I can't sit still and wait for death." Thinking of this, Li Wuxuang turned to Wu Huang and the python and said, "Brothers, do you want me to write the plan now?" The python smiled at Li Wuxuang. "No need, Brother Wuxuang, even if you show us, we won't understand. When the time comes, you can go and set it up yourself. Don't worry, we will protect you well." As it spoke, the python patted Li Wuxuang's shoulder. Li Wuxuang looked at Wu Huang and the python, and a hint of despair appeared on her face. From the looks of it, he had to go. He thought about how he originally had the strength of a god king, while the python and Wu Huang were both god emperor realm experts. Li Wuxuang couldn't resist. It was over, there was no way out. Li Wuxuang sat on the ground, her mind completely blank. On the other side, Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor were being arranged by the disciples of the Sword Sect. He sat at a table in the center of the village. The people sitting at the same table as them were all elders of the Sword Sect. The sect master of the Sword Sect, Elder Bai, and the other elders were all present. Everyone looked at the Sword Emperor in the center and didn't take the initiative to eat. Chapter 412 Snow Lotus, 1. Chapter 412, Snow Lotus, 1. Small space, Sword Sect Village. Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor sat at the table in the center. There were all kinds of delicacies on the table. The food was emitting an aura that could penetrate one's heart and soul. They were all valuable spiritual items in the arrow and sword world. At this moment, Elder Bai was the first to stand up with a wine cup in his hand. He said slowly to the Sword Emperor and the Sword Sect Master, "I didn't expect to be able to see the ancestors of our Sword Sect in my later years. I really have no regrets in my life." The elders of the sword sect looked at each other. Then they followed Elder Bai to pick up the wine cup on the table and said to the Sword Emperor and Li Tai Bai, "We welcome the return of our ancestor." The return of their ancestors was a major event for their sword sect. After the Sword Emperor and Li Tai Bai destroyed the Arrow sect, the sword sect had become the only first-rate force in the arrow sword world. If they had a powerful ancestor, then their sword sect's position in the arrow and sword realm would be safe. Hearing this, Li Tai Bai slowly looked at the Sword Emperor. He was not the ancestor of the sword sect. Li Tai Bai had also heard about the Sword Emperor. At this time, it was more important to complete the mission given by his master. At the same time, the Sword Emperor sensed Li Tai Bai's gaze and spoke to everyone. "Everyone, we had no choice but to seal the arrow sword world back then. I've returned this time to re-establish our connection with the divine realm. Everything in the sword sect will remain the same. Don't change because of my appearance." As the Sword Emperor's voice fell, Elder Bai and the others began to whisper. "Ancestor wants to connect our arrow sword realm with the divine realm. That's great. I wonder what the legendary divine realm is like. I really want to go and adventure." "You're already a person who's about to die, yet you still speak so young." A series of voices sounded from the table. At this moment, the sword sect master stood up. He said slowly to the Sword Emperor and Li Tai Bai, "The entire sword sect will listen to the ancestor's decision." As sword sect's voice fell, the Sword Emperor and Li Tai Bai's figures slowly disappeared from everyone's sight. "I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse to contact the divine realm. The sword sect should make preparations as soon as possible." Li Tai Bai's voice slowly echoed after his figure disappeared. After hearing Li Tai Bai's words, the elders of the sword sect looked at each other. At this moment, Elder Bai also walked up to the sword sect master. "Sect master, what does this ancestor mean? Could it be that he didn't want to stay behind to protect the US? Elder Bai wanted to use the Sword Emperor's pressure to expand their influence in the sword and arrow realm. Finally, he would gain a firm foothold before attacking the divine world. At this moment, the sword sect master shook his head when he heard Elder Bai's words. "Can we guess the thoughts of our ancestors? I'll go over and take a look first." In the air, the Sword Emperor and Li Tai Bai were flying side by side. Looking at the dagger in his hand, the Sword Emperor slowly said to Li Tai Bai, "Little brother, I'm sorry to have wasted so much time on this trip. The snow lotus will be found soon." Li Tai Bai nodded at the Sword Emperor. "How do you plan to deal with the sword sect?" Hearing Li Tai Bai's words, the Sword Emperor's body shook and he sighed. "It's been so many years since the matter of the descendants. After I help little brother find the snow lotus, I will go and find my lord." As they spoke, the Sword Emperor and Li Tai Bai arrived in the void. Looking at the void in front of him, Li Tai Bai narrowed his eyes slightly. This place was the same as when he went to the divine world back then. The barrier between the Tianyuan continent and the divine realm was rather difficult to imagine. The Sword Emperor beside Li Tai Bai also threw the dagger in his hand into the void. A burst of true essence in his body was injected into this void. Then a snow-white light slowly lit up in the void. Immediately after, a series of spatial cracks appeared, and the space in front of him shook continuously. In the end, it formed a huge spatial storm. Bang! As soon as the spatial storm formed, it wreaked havoc in the surroundings. At this moment, the sword sect master also arrived at this void. He looked at the spatial storm in front of him and the Sword Emperor and Li Tai Bai. He muttered, "Is this the space passage between the arrow sword realm and the divinity?" While this spatial storm raged in the God Burial Mountain range of the divine world, the yin-yang bird slowly appeared and looked at the spatial passageway in front of it. It was about to close. It seems that the arrow sword realm and the divinity are about to re-establish their connection. As it said that, the yin-yang bird also looked out of the God Burial Mountain range. At this moment, outside the God Burial Mountain range, Li Wuxia, Wu Huang, and the python slowly appeared. Coming to the outskirts of the God Burial Mountain range again, Li Wuxia felt that this mountain range was not her blessed land. With this thought in mind, Li Wuxia turned to Wu Huang and the python and said, "Big brothers, are we really going to set up an ambush outside?" Wu Huang was also stunned when he heard Li Wuxia's words. Then he slowly said, "Brother Wuxia, do you know of a better ambush point?" Hearing Wu Huang's words, Li Wuxia looked up at the sky. He wanted to leave, but the other party wanted to fight. It seemed that it would be difficult for him to escape this calamity. Forget it. When the time comes, I'll be smarter and hide far away. At this moment, the python walked to the side of Li Wushuang. Brother Wushuang, how should we ambush them? Hearing the python's words, Li Wushuang rolled her eyes. Then he pointed at the entrance of the God Burial Mountain Range. There's only one entrance to the God Burial Mountain Range. We'll just wait for them here. Wu Huang and the others nodded in agreement. That makes sense. After saying this to Li Wushuang, Wu Huang waved his hand behind him. Following that, the subordinates of Wu Gong's underground palace and the Earth Python sect who had followed them hid on both sides of the entrance. Seeing that everyone was hiding behind some rocks, Li Wushuang covered her forehead. In the Arrow and Sword realm, a space passage slowly formed in front of the Sword Emperor and Li Taibai. At the same time as the spatial passageway was formed, at the entrance of the spatial passageway, a snow-white lotus floated out. Looking at the lotus flower, Li Taibai's face lit up. He stretched out his hand and sucked, and the snow-white lotus flower appeared in his hand. Snow lotus. Looking at the white lotus in his hand, Li Taibai said slowly, Chapter 413 Chapter 413 Brother Wushuang is really our good helper. 1. Chapter 413 Brother Wushuang is really our good helper. 1. Arrow Sword Jia. Li Taibai stood in the air with a snow-white lotus in his hand. Looking at the lotus in his hand, Li Taibai also poured his true essence into the space ring on his right finger. Whoosh! The interspatial ring flashed and the snow lotus was taken by Li Taibai. At this moment, the Sword Sect Master Bai Mei came to Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor's side. Looking at the spatial passageway in front of her, Divine King White Plum muttered, Is the Divine Realm on the other side of this spatial passageway? In the future, the Arrow and Sword realm will be considered to have regained contact with the divinity. You need to weigh the pros and cons yourself. It won't be long before the spiritual energy belonging to the Divine Realm will surge over. The Sword Sect should also grasp this opportunity. After giving the White Plum God King some instructions, the Sword Emperor turned to smile at Li Taibai. Little brother, let's leave. Li Taibai saw the Sword Emperor make a gesture of invitation and nodded his head. Then the two of them flew toward the spatial passageway at the same time. The White Plum Divine King looked at the two people who were walking further and further away. She placed her hand on her chin and rolled her eyes. God World, God Burial Mountain Range. At this moment, at the entrance of the God Burial Mountain Range, Wu Huang and the Python subordinates took turns to stand guard. He kept his eyes on the exit of the God Burial Mountain Range. Wu Huang, we've been hiding here for a few hours. Do you think that kid knows we're here and doesn't dare to come out? The python at the side had a straw in its mouth as it slowly said to Wu Huang. I don't think there's no way out. That kid last time was indeed a little strange, but I also heard the ancestor say it in secret. Wu Huang took a few steps toward the python and looked at Li Wushuang from. Only then did he continue to whisper to the python. To tell you the truth, I heard from the ancestor that Li Wushuang is the key to victory. It is said that he can turn misfortune into good luck every time. His luck is comparable to a peerless lucky star. With him around, there won't be any accidents. After hearing Wu Huang's words, the python spat out the straw in its mouth. That makes sense. During the last competition in the God Burial Mountain Range, Li Wushuang was at the Demon Race Hall. Perhaps that mortal kid was just riding on his luck and defeated the ancestor and the others. This time, Li Wushuang is on our side. As the python spoke, it was also trying to figure out its own palm. On the other side of the rock, Li Wushuang was looking around. It seemed that there was no hope for him to escape. Wu Huang and the python had been staring at him since the beginning. It seemed that they didn't want him to escape at all. Li Wushuang roared in her heart. Heavens, how did my luck become so bad? At this moment, in the God Burial Mountain Range, two streams of light flew out from the spatial passageway in front of the demon stone statue. Then Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor slowly appeared in the air. At the same time, black and white gas rose from the stone statue of the demon ancestor, and the shadow of the yin-yang bird slowly appeared. Sword Emperor, I didn't expect you to make such a choice. The Sword Emperor clasped his fists at the yin-yang bird's words. Thank you. Then he looked at the spatial passageway behind him and said slowly to the yin-yang bird. Just destroy this passageway. The spatial passageway in the God Burial Mountain range was a temporary passageway that he had left behind when he sealed the Arrow Sword realm. Now that the Arrow Sword realm was connected to the divine world once again, it was time for this space passage to disappear. When the yin-yang bird heard the Sword Emperor's words, the black and white chi on its body also condensed. He slowly applied it on the spatial passageway, and then the entire spatial passageway disappeared from the world. Alright, now we're even. If you want to leave, let me remind you that there are some miscellaneous fish and prawns waiting for you outside. As soon as he finished speaking, the yin-yang bird's figure disappeared from the world. Then, Li Taibai and Sword Emperor looked at each other and flew toward the God Burial Mountain range. Look, someone has appeared over there. With Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor's speed, they soon arrived at the exit. The subordinates sent by Wu Huang and the others to investigate also reported to them in time. Upon hearing that someone had come out, Wu Huang and the Python subordinates got busy. All kinds of divine artifacts had long been prepared in his hands. The Python stared ahead and slowly said to Wu Huang beside him, "Wu Huang, I think that mortal is strange. We should get Li Wushuang by our side." Upon hearing the Python's words, Wu Huang nodded. Then Wu Huang turned around and looked behind him. He scanned the crowd and found Li Wushuang standing at the back of the group. Half of his body was covered by a python. "You go away." Wu Huang stretched out his hand and pointed at the Python subordinate, who tactfully left his original position. Then Wu Huang and the Python saw Li Wushuang's figure. "Brother Wushuang, why can't I see you from the back? Come here." Wu Huang waved at Li Wushuang and said with a smile. Seeing Wu Huang's gesture, Peerless Beauty's eyes were filled with despair. Her eyes were moist as she nodded. When she heard that Li Taibai and the others had come out, Li Wushuang thought that she could take advantage of the time they had to prepare to sneak away. He did not expect this group of people to keep staring at him. It was probably difficult for him to escape today. Wu Huang walked up to Li Wushuang and saw her teary eyes. "I think Wushuang has been very tired these few days in order to revive the great cause. Brother Wushuang, don't worry. As long as this operation succeeds, I will be the leader and you will be the second in Wu Gong's underground palace." Hearing Wu Huang's words, Li Wushuang quickly shook his hand and nodded. "Since I can't run away, I'll go all out today. I'm so unlucky today. As long as I rush up to that mortal and pass my bad luck on to him, I'll be able to kill him. Perhaps that person's spirit skill would go astray. If he succeeded, not only would he be able to save Nalin Yen and the others, he would also be able to live comfortably for the rest of his life." At this moment, a subordinate of Wu Gong's underground palace was also looking up at the sky. "They're coming." Everyone looked up at the sky. When Li Wushuang saw Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor, her face turned grim. The vital essence in his body gathered, and a fiery red vital essence wrapped around his body. Then he stomped his heels and charged at them. Whoosh! Li Wushuang's figure flew past Wu Huang and the others. "Brother Wushuang, you are really our good helper. You did not forget to take the lead when executing the plan." Hearing Wu Huang's words, the python nodded in agreement. "Little ones, follow Brother Wushuang." Chapter 414. Chapter 414. This group of people are indiscriminately. Chapter 414. This group of people are indiscriminately attacking. _ Outside the God Burial Mountain range. Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor were slowly flying in the air when the Sword Emperor suddenly frowned. He looked down and saw Li Wushuang rushing toward them with her flaming Jinyuan. The Sword Emperor gathered his true chi and was about to attack. "Sword Emperor, wait for a moment." Li Taibai saw the Sword Emperor's gesture and shook his head. This person seems to be from the side of the main hall. Although Li Wushuang was covered in true yuan flames, Li Taibai still remembered seeing her in the God Burial Mountain range. After all, there were only 2 humans in the entire Demon Clan's palace. Hearing Li Taibai's words, the Sword Emperor slowly withdrew the true chi in his hand. In the air, Li Wushuang had felt the power of the Sword Emperor's hand and was panicking. Seeing that the Sword Emperor had taken the initiative to remove her hand, a smile appeared on Li Wushuang's face. It seemed that he had indeed been unlucky recently. The 2 of them wanted to run away when they saw him. With this thought in mind, Li Wushuang quickened her pace and rushed toward Li Taibai and the others. Soon, Li Wushuang arrived in front of Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor. At this moment, Li Taibai saw Li Wushuang rushing toward him and reached out to block her. Li Wushuang's body crashed into Li Taibai's hand, and the flaming Zhen Yuan on her body dissipated. I remember that you are a guard of the monster clan's main halls. Li Taibai looked at Li Wushuang, who was hugging his arm, and said slowly. In his perception, he also knew that there were those trashed from the previous competition in God Burial Mountain Range. He was also surprised that Li Wushuang had come. Li Wushuang was also stunned by Li Taibai's words. Wasn't this mortal afraid of his bad luck? Why did he ask if he was from the demon race's Mam Hall? This? For a moment, Li Wushuang didn't know what to say. At the same time, Wu Huang and the others saw Li Wushuang in Li Taibai's hands. He also shouted to the demons behind him. Everyone, Brother Wushuang is already the vanguard. Everyone save him quickly. As Wu Huang's voice fell, the demon beasts behind him each held a divine artifact. Wu Gong Finger. Earth Python Strike. All kinds of colorful spirit techniques were thrown at Li Taibai. Wow. Li Wushuang cursed in her heart. This group of people was attacking indiscriminately. They wanted to kill her too. Then Li Wushuang hugged Li Taibai's arm. Brother, I was chased here by them. I'm so happy to see you. Li Taibai looked at Li Wushuang and was speechless. Next, Sword Emperor, who was standing beside Li Taibai, looked down at Wu Huang and the others. He pulled out the sword behind him and swung it downward. An invincible sword light charged towards Wu Huang and the others. Godly Emperor, another godly Emperor. Seeing this sword light, the legs of some of Wu Huang's subordinates could not help but tremble. Some of them even began to flee downward. Don't panic, don't be afraid. Wu Huang shouted as he looked at the incoming sword light. As long as we can save Brother Wushuang from that mortal, we will have a chance to turn the tables. Although Wu Huang was a little frightened when he saw this sword light, he was certain of one thing. Li Wushuang was really lucky. A god emperor had appeared beside this mortal. If they could save him, they would have a chance to turn the tables. Following that, Wu Huang led the way, and the subordinates of Wu Gong Underground Palace and Earth Python Sect charged toward Li Taibai. Kill them. Wu Huang and the others shouted loudly. Seeing this, Li Wushuang was also frightened. This group of people even said that they would protect themselves. Facing such a terrifying sword light, he didn't run away but came to kill this mortal. And from the looks of it, he didn't take care of himself at all. He wanted to drag himself down with him. Why did he go to Wu Gong's underground palace back then? He was really careless in making friends. While Li Wushuang was thinking about this, the Sword Emperor's sword light had also pierced through Wu Huang and the others. Bang, bang, bang. Wu Huang and the others exploded after being pierced by the Sword Emperor's light. It turned into a bloody mist in the air. Seeing Wu Huang and the others' fate, Li Wushuang clutched her chest. He looked at the Sword Emperor with lingering fear. Li Wushuang, can you let go now? Li Taibai's helpless voice reached Li Wushuang's ears. Li Wushuang had been holding onto his arm the entire time. Hearing Li Taibai's words, Li Wushuang slowly reacted. He quickly let go of Li Taibai's arm and smiled at him. It's all thanks to you today, brother. Li Wushuang quickly thanked Li Taibai. Nothing. We're going back. What about you? Are you coming with us? Li Taibai looked at Li Wushuang and said slowly. Hearing Li Taibai's words, Li Wushuang also gave him a fist. No, I still have other missions. If he went back with Li Taibai and the fact that he was a spy was found out, he would be doomed. Okay, alright. Li Taibai waved his hand at Li Wushuang. Following which, he and the Sword Emperor continued to fly towards the courtyard outside the Monster Race Hall. At this moment in the courtyard, Xiao Changtian had already finished preparing his luggage. Where did Taibai go? And that old man, where did he go? Xiao Changtian looked at the monkey and the old hen at his feet and sighed in his heart. Now, it wasn't his little animals running around, but his disciple who had run away. At this moment, Li Taibai and the Sword Emperor slowly arrived outside the courtyard. After entering the courtyard, Li Taibai went to look for Xiao Changtian first. Master, I found it. As he spoke, Li Taibai took out the snow lotus from his body. Xiao Changtian wanted to say something when he saw Li Taibai. After seeing the snow lotus, he understood. It turned out that his disciple had gone to look for ingredients. He patted Li Taibai's shoulder. It's good that you're back. Get ready. We should go back too. Hearing Xiao Changtian's words, Li Taibai nodded. Then Xiao Changtian carried the bamboo basket on his back and brought Monkey and the Hen back. At this moment, the Blue Luan slowly walked over with the experts from the Demon Race main hall. After spending a few days together, they also found that Xiao Changtian seemed to be very interested in those tall demon beasts. Therefore, the Blue Luan slowly said to Xiao Changtian, "Senior, that is a small gift we prepared. Please accept it." As he spoke, the experts from the Demon Race main hall behind the Blue Luan also walked up with a few bags. Looking at the bags in their hands, Xiao Changtian smiled and took them. This was also a small token of his appreciation. He could not forgive him. Chapter 415 Chapter 415, Fridge, 1. Chapter 415, Fridge, 1. Divine Realm outside the courtyard. Xiao Changtian left with Li Taibai under the gazes of the Blue Luan and the others. Seeing Xiao Changtian disappear from its sight, the Green Phoenix spoke to the first elder beside it. "What has Senior's disciple been doing recently?" 1. The Blue Luan did not think that it was a coincidence when Li Taibai disappeared. It must be a setup that Senior arranged for his disciple to stay in the Divine Realm. He had just gained a good impression from the Senior, so he had to pay more attention to it. Until the time came, he could maintain the position of the Demon Clan Hall in the hearts of the Seniors in the fierce competition. The first elder of the Green Phoenix also bent his body slightly when he heard the Green Phoenix's words. "Master, Senior's disciple seems to have gone to the God Burial Mountain Range. But I don't know what he did inside." God Burial Mountain Range? The Blue Luan slowly said after hearing the words of the first elder of the Blue Luan. Yes, but something else happened recently. Not long after Senior's disciple left, the corpses of the Wu Gong Underground Palace and the Earth Python sect were discovered. The Blue Phoenix was delighted when it heard the first elder's words. So Senior is sending his disciple to help our Demon Race Hall eliminate the enemy. Senior values our Monster Clan's hall so much. We can't let her down. The experts from the Demon Clan's main hall slowly nodded their heads when they heard the Blue Luan's words. Right, Master, there's something else that happened at the same time. The Blue Phoenix first elder suddenly added. If you have anything to say it all at once. The Blue Luan said unkindly when it heard the words of the Blue Luan's first elder. During this period of time, it was rumored that the Arrow and Sword Realm had reappeared, and countless forces had begun to stir up trouble for them. The Sword and Arrow Realm is the hometown of the Sword Emperor. Senior's disciple went out with the Sword Emperor. At this moment, the Blue Luan also began to analyze. Pass down the order. The Monster Race Hall should help the Arrow and Sword Realm as much as possible. Yes, Master. Yes. First Elder Blue Luan replied respectfully when she heard Blue Luan's words. Then he went to issue the order. Xiao Changtian's courtyard. Xiao Changtian was carrying a bamboo basket on his back with the Monkey and the Hen by his feet and Li Taibai behind him. We're finally here. Xiao Changtian looked at the courtyard in front of him and stretched. Then he slowly walked into the courtyard. Entering the courtyard, Xiao Changtian looked at Yi Fan who was chopping firewood at the side. Yi Fan greeted Xiao Changtian and Li Taibai when he saw them. Master, junior brother, you're back. Hearing Yi Fan's words, Xiao Changtian also nodded at him. After passing through a corridor, Xiao Changtian arrived at the backyard of the Taoist priest. Xiao Changtian placed his bamboo basket on the ground and lay down on his rocking chair. It's still more comfortable at home. Even though Mo Ba and the others had also given him very good treatment. But in the end, no place was as comfortable as his own home. At this moment, Mu Jiahuang also walked out from the kitchen. Seeing Xiao Changtian, he smiled and said, Master, you're back from your trip. Seeing Mu Jiahuang, Xiao Changtian said to Li Taibai. Taibai, take out the bags that Mo Ba and the others gave you and show them to everyone. Xiao Changtian didn't know what was inside the bag. All right, Master. Hearing Xiao Changtian's words, Li Taibai also took out the bag from the bamboo basket. Then Li Taibai also injected his true essence into the bag. These were a few Qinghuan pouches that required true essence to open. Li Taibai opened the bag. Bang, bang, bang. Voices rang out in the courtyard. He saw the demon beasts that he had fought back from the God Burial Mountain range landing on the ground of the courtyard one by one. Looking at the demonic beast in front of him, Xiao Changtian also stood up from the rocking chair. He looked at the bag in Li Taibai's hand. What kind of bag could hold so many animals? Moreover, looking at this bag, weren't they the ones in the white rice porridge cart? Could it be that some immortal cultivator had accidentally landed on the carriage, and the carriage was coincidentally pushed into the courtyard by Mo Ba and the others? After thinking about it, Xiao Changtian also felt that this was the only way to explain. Mu Jiahuang looked at the demonic beasts in the courtyard and covered her mouth. Last time, when Xiao Changtian defeated Blood Dragon, he had a premonition that Xiao Changtian was going to make a big move. He didn't expect Xiao Changtian to directly defeat so many demonic beasts of that level. If this number was placed on the Tianyuan continent, all the high-class demon beasts would have been wiped out. Master, you're amazing. Mu Jiahuang really couldn't think of any words to describe Xiao Changtian. Hearing Mu Jiahuang's words, Xiao Changtian smiled at her. It's nothing, it's nothing. These were just some small animals. Although there were a little more of them, they were still easy to fight. For details he could refer to Li Taibai. That kid couldn't even hit a wooden stake, but these animals were subdued by him. Could be seen how easy this was. In the pond, after Zhu Long heard Xiao Changtian's words, he also said slowly among the divine beasts. It seems that Master has begun to enter the world. This plane is indeed not worthy of Master now. Yeah, we've been here for a while. Hearing the ancestral dragon's words, the white tiger by the side also echoed. On the contrary, Black Tortoise said leisurely. Don't spout nonsense. How can we fathom Master's thoughts? After the Black Tortoise finished speaking, the divine beasts also closed their mouths and fell silent. After all, the iron cage in the courtyard was watching. When Mu Jiahuang heard Xiao Changtian's words, she was stunned for a moment before she understood. It turned out that this was just an appetizer for Master. After that, Master would bring back more demonic beasts. Thinking of this, Mu Jiahuang slowly walked over and said to Xiao Changtian, Master, what should we do with these things? Hearing Mu Jiahuang's words, Xiao Changtian was in a dilemma. If it was in his previous life, these things would definitely be kept in the refrigerator. But now, in the immortal cultivation world, it was only heard that some immortal cultivators who cultivated ice attribute cultivation techniques could freeze. However, how could a mortal like him possibly invite them? After all, not every immortal cultivator was so easy to talk to the immortal De Yang. Xiao Changtian sighed. If only there was a refrigerator at this time. A refrigerator? Yi Fan walked over from the front courtyard at this time. When he heard Xiao Changtian's words, he also asked. Yes, I am. Xiao Changtian nodded and continued to explain. To put it simply, it's a box made by an ice-type cultivator. Chapter 416 Chapter 416. Of course I'm making my own box. 1. Chapter 416. Of course I'm making my own box. 1. Xiao Changtian's courtyard. After Yi Fan heard Xiao Changtian's words, he looked at Li Taibai who was beside him. Senior brother, I think Master wants us to find an expert with an ice attribute cultivation technique and then make a box. I don't think so. It might also be an ice-type spiritual weapon. Li Taibai and Yi Fan communicated with each other. Their hands were on their chins. Then which ice-attributed expert or magic tool should we look for? Then Li Taibai and Yi Fan were also in a dilemma. With his master's strength, ordinary magic tools would definitely not enter his eyes. Could it be in the divine world? However, he had not heard of any powerful ice attribute experts in the divine world. After thinking for a while, Yi Fan and Li Taibai said to Xiao Changtian. Master, we'll go and do it. You want to do it? Hearing Li Taibai and Yi Fan's words, Xiao Changtian was also stunned. Then he waved his hand at them. Li Taibai and Yi Fan probably couldn't help much with the refrigerator. It looked like Yi Fan should have continued to pick firewood and water. As for Li Taibai, he had left Dayang town for a while and wanted to go around. After leaving the courtyard, Li Taibai and Yi Fan looked at each other. Xixiang, let's split up and search. Li Taibai slowly said to Yi Fan. Then Yi Fan nodded at him. Whoosh, whoosh. The two of them turned into two streams of light and disappeared into the sky. Outside Dayang town above a small hill. A woman dressed in purple was standing on top of a snow-white wolf. He placed his hand between his eyebrows and looked at Dayang town from afar. Snow Wolf King, hurry up, we're going to see Senior. The person standing on the Snow Wolf King was Chuyiren. Taoist De Yang sent her back to the Beast Tamer sect. After a period of recuperation, Chuyiren had gradually adapted to the strength in her body. Therefore he wanted to quickly come to Daong town to find Xiao Changtian. Whoosh! The Snow Wolf King flew across the sky and soon arrived above the great sun town. Chu Yiren's figure slowly landed on the surface of Daong town. Chu Yiren spotted a stall by the side of the familiar street. "Let's go, Snow Wolf King. I'm going to eat a bowl of beef noodles." Chu Yiren pointed in a certain direction and slowly walked over with the Snow Wolf King. As she sat in the booth, a voice rang out in Chu Yiren's ears. "Hey, isn't this Sister Yiren?" Chu Yiren turned to look at him, only to see Li Taibai slowly walking towards her. "It's Taibai. Do you want to eat together?" When Chu Yiren saw Li Taibai, she smiled back at him. "No thanks, Sister Yiren. I still have to help Master find the fridge." "Looking for a refrigerator?" Chu Yiren was taken aback by Li Taibai's words. Li Taibai continued to explain when he saw the same expression on Chu Yiren's face. "Master said that the refrigerator is a box made by an ice attribute expert. To put it simply, it's a powerful ice-type spiritual weapon." A powerful ice-type spiritual weapon. Chu Yiren thought to herself as she handed the beef noodles to the Snow Wolf King. After fusing with her clone, she had also awakened some of her previous memories. Then Chu Yiren said slowly to Li Taibai, "Perhaps I know where to find that thing." Hearing Chu Yiren's words, Li Taibai smiled as well. He walked up to Chu Yiren and said excitedly, "Really? Sister Yiren?" Chu Yiren patted the Snow Wolf King's furry head and said slowly, "Let's go, I'll bring you there." Chu Yiren didn't know what to bring Xiao Changtian. After all, she knew Xiao Changtian's strength. He probably wouldn't care about those sect treasures and secret weapons. She happened to meet Li Taibai and knew that he needed a refrigerator. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Taibai and Chu Yiren stood on the Snow Wolf King and flew off into the distance. Divine Realm atop a snow-white mountain peak. On the mountain peak, snowflakes fell and from time to time, a strong wind whistled past. In the air, the Snow Wolf King slowly appeared with Li Taibai and Chu Yiren. "Sister Yiren, is there really an ice-type spirit tool here?" Looking at the snow-white mountain in front of him, Li Taibai used his holy sense to explore it. He couldn't sense the fluctuations of any powerful spiritual weapon at all. "Don't worry, watch me." Chu Yiren replied to Li Taibai, and the green vital essence in her hand slowly gathered. A green ball of light formed in his palm and he casually slapped it at the snow in front of him. "Snow Demon Clan, I'm back." As the green ball of light exploded, Chu Yiren's voice rang out in the air. As Chu Yiren spoke, Li Taibai saw the snow in front of him. One by one, snow-white animals with long ears appeared. "Sister Yiren, what's this?" From Li Taibai's perception, these snow demons were not very strong, but there were many of them. Chu Yiren slowly explained after hearing Li Taibai's words. "These are snow demons. They are different from demon beasts. They were born in the snow." "Demon God, what are you doing here?" Amongst the snow demons below, a gigantic figure with two ruby-like eyes stared at Chu Yiren as he spoke slowly. The Snow Wolf King glared at the snow demon with a ferocious expression. "Snow Demon King, don't be anxious. I'm here to borrow your sacred item." Chu Yiren's green inner yuan surged as she spoke slowly to the Snow Demon King. "I won't let you suffer. This is for you." As soon as she finished speaking, Chu Yiren also took out a cosmos sack. He threw it at the Snow Demon King. The Snow Demon King raised its huge palm from the snow, sending snowflakes flying. He grabbed the cosmic bag that Chu Yiren had tossed him. After opening it to take a look, the Snow Demon King waved its hand. A beam of light flew towards Chu Yiren. Chu Yiren's hand, which was imbued with green vital essence, slowly reached out and caught the Snow Demon King's hand. "Let's go." With the sacred item in hand, Chu Yiren said to Li Taibai as she stepped on the Snow Wolf King. Then the Snow Wolf King turned around and flew back into the distance. Li Taibai, who was standing atop the Snow Wolf King, also looked at Chu Yiren's hand. A transparent piece of ice with a bone-piercing chill appeared in her hand. After that, Chu Yiren pointed at a mountain peak. The Snow Wolf King brought them to the mountain peak. "Sister Yiren, what do you plan to do?" "Of course, I'm going to make my own box." Chu Yiren smiled as she waved the Shen Bing in her hand at Li Taibai. Chapter 417 Chapter 417, Can't Find a Suit, 1. Chapter 417, Can't Find a Suit, 1. On the mountain peak. Chu Yiren was holding a hammer in her hand, wiping her forehead with it. Tai Bai, take a look. What do you think? Chu Yiren asked Li Tai Bai as she looked at the box in front of her. After arriving at the mountain peak, Chu Yiren started to make them on the spot. With the hammer that Xiao Changtian had given her, Chu Yiren managed to forge a chest. Li Tai Bai looked at the box in front of them and nodded. I think it's fine, Sister Yiren. I hope Senior will like it. Hearing Li Tai Bai's reply, Chu Yiren slowly kept the box back into her interspatial ring. Following that, he brought Li Tai Bai back to Daong Town. Soon, Li Tai Bai and Chu Yiren arrived at Daong Town. After landing in Daong Town, Li Tai Bai also saw Yi Fan on the street. Junior brother, do you have any idea about the chest? Hearing Yi Fan's words, Li Tai Bai smiled at him. Senior brother, Sister Yiren has been found. As he spoke, Li Tai Bai also took a step to the side. Yi Fan smiled at Chu Yiren when he saw her standing behind Li Tai Bai. Sister Yiren. Let's go and see Senior. After she finished making the fridge, Chu Yiren also wanted to hurry to the courtyard to meet Xiao Changtian. Then, under the urging of Chu Yiren, Li Tai Bai and Yi Fan followed Chu Yiren to Xiao Changtian's courtyard. At this moment, Xiao Changtian was cleaning up the demonic beast that Mo Ba and the others had given him. It really won't do without a fridge. Looks like I can only find the time to ask Di Tian and the others. After all, Di Tian was a cultivator who had just entered the sect. He should have some understanding of the news in the cultivation world. Senior. At this moment, Chu Yiren's voice slowly drifted into Xiao Changtian's ears. Xiao Changtian turned around and saw Chu Yiren, Yi Fan and Li Tai Bai walking over. Look, what did I bring you? Chu Yiren walked up to Xiao Changtian a little excited. Then he took out an ice blue box from behind him. As soon as Chu Yiren took out the box, a gust of cold air from the courtyard assaulted her face. Xiao Changtian's eyes lit up when he saw the box. Based on his eyesight, Xiao Changtian could tell that this box was not an ordinary item. Looking at Chu Yiren, Xiao Changtian suddenly remembered that this girl's family was also from a cultivation sect. Although this box only had one layer, it could also achieve a freezing effect. It was just that it was still a little inferior to the refrigerator in his previous life. After all, the fridges in his previous life were divided into two layers. The top layer was used for preservation, and the bottom layer was used for freezing. However, given Chu Yiren's family's small sect, it wasn't easy for them to give him such a small box. With that thought in mind, Xiao Changtian turned to Chu Yiren and said slowly, "Thank you, I need this." Seeing the smile on Xiao Changtian's face, Chu Yiren smiled back at him. As long as you like it. Oh, I'm here today. Let's eat here tonight. Xiao Changtian slowly placed the fridge on the floor as he spoke to Chu Yiren. Sure. Hearing Xiao Changtian's words, Chu Yiren responded obediently. Next in the courtyard, Black Tortoise standing on the fat Rongrong's head also released a green true qi. The green vital essence passed through space and slowly poured into the icebox on the ground. This is perfect. The refrigerator Chu Yiren had just given him could freeze the food. However, it was still not enough to maintain the effect of the demon beasts in Wu Gong's underground palace. With Black Tortoise's replenishment, the box became bigger and more perfect. Gulp, gulp, gulp. At the dining table, Xiao Changtian sat in the middle of the crowd because of Chu Yiren's arrival. Xiao Changtian started his hot pot journey again. This was the first time Chu Yiren had seen such a thing and she was very excited. Senior, can I eat this? There's no rush. I'll give it to you first. Xiao Changtian smiled at Chu Yiren when he saw her gluttonous expression. Then he used a spoon and chopsticks to pick up the 9 nether tribes' meat and placed it in Chu Yiren's bowl. Chu Yiren's face lit up with satisfaction as the fresh meat entered her stomach. She looked at Xiao Changtian and smiled at her. Don't be anxious. Come have some soup. At this moment, Xiao Changtian also took out a spoonful of soup from the pot in front of him and handed it to Chu Yiren. He poured the soup into Chu Yiren's bowl. Xiao Changtian also sighed. Seeing Xiao Changtian sigh, Mu Jiahuang also said to him with concern, Master, is there something wrong? Seeing how concerned Mu Jiahuang was for the Xiao Changtian, Chu Yiren also took a sip of the soup. A pair of eyes were fixed on Xiao Changtian. It's nothing. I'm just preparing a dish. The ingredients are almost ready now. It's just that I haven't found a suitable spoon for cooking. The supreme kick that the system wanted to make was also very demanding on the tools used to cook. Originally, Xiao Changtian wanted to use his own spoon. He did not expect the system to directly give the spoon he made a rating of poor quality. After a few experiments, Xiao Changtian finally understood. It was likely that only the spoons used by immortal cultivators in the legends could satisfy the system. Hearing Xiao Changtian's words, Chu Yiren and Mu Jiahuang both put on a pair of thoughtful expressions. Then Chu Yiren suddenly stood up from her seat. He came to Xiao Changtian's side and placed his hand on Xiao Changtian's shoulder. "Senior, I might know where you can find the spoon you want." "Oh, is that a spoon used by cultivators?" Xiao Changtian asked Chu Yiren when he heard her words. "Immortal cultivators." Chu Yiren thought for a moment, then shook her head. "Not really an immortal cultivator, only half." As she spoke, Chu Yiren gestured with half a finger. That made sense. With Chu Yiren's family's small sect, it was not bad to find half a spoon with the aura of an immortal cultivator. In any case, it was better than what a mortal could make. With that thought in mind, Xiao Changtian continued to speak to Chu Yiren. "Where is little Biao now? Is there anyone guarding there?" Although he had information about little Biao, he still had to find out more. If it was in a place where cultivators often appeared, they wouldn't be able to get it even if they went. There shouldn't be anyone there now. Chu Yiren replied after some thought. Chapter 418 Chapter 418, The Former Holy Sun, 1. Chapter 418, The Former Holy Sun, 1. Outside Xiao Changtian's courtyard. Xiao Changtian looked at the gate of the courtyard. Mu Jiahuang, Li Taibai, Yi Fan, and the other disciples were all waving at Xiao Changtian. "Master, be careful on the way. Master, take care on the road." Hearing the voices of his disciples, Xiao Changtian waved his hand at them. "Go back. Remember to help me look after the courtyard." Xiao Changtian turned around and left with Chu Yiren. This group of people was really too much. Usually he didn't worry enough about them. Now it seemed like they were the ones worrying about him. After leaving Dayang town, Xiao Changtian turned to Chu Yiren and said slowly, "Yiren, where should we go now?" She had only brought Chu Yiren with her on this trip. He had left the others in the courtyard. Of course, there were also some divine beasts in the courtyard with him. At that moment, Chu Yiren closed her eyes and tried her best to recall. After fusing with the clone, he would become the main body. As his strength rose, some memories would also come along. After pondering for a while, Chu Yiren pointed up as well. In her memories, she had previously established a faction in the divine world. The foundation of their power was a spoon and a compass. Xiao Changtian, who was standing beside Chu Yiren, saw her pointing at the sky. He looked up at the sky and said slowly to Chu Yiren, "In the sky." Chu Yiren opened her eyes. Hearing Xiao Changtian's words, she nodded slowly at him. Wasn't the heaven a place only the immortal cultivators could go? He was just a mortal. How could he go up? He had been chatting in the courtyard for a long time and had forgotten to discuss the most important issue. At this moment, the antennae of the chaos ant on Xiao Changtian's shoulder also trembled slightly. A silvery white light enveloped Xiao Changtian and Chu Yiren. Following that, Xiao Changtian and Chu Yiren arrived in the divine realm under the influence of the power of space. Xiao Changtian stood beside Chu Yiren, glancing behind him. The shadow of Dayang town could no longer be seen. It seemed that they had still walked a short distance. At this moment, Xiao Changtian turned to Chu Yiren and asked, "Yiren, are you sure you didn't point at the wrong person just now? It's really in the sky." When Chu Yiren heard Xiao Changtian's words, she could sense that they had already arrived in the divine realm. Even though his strength had soared, he was still like a baby in front of Senior. When the Senior attacked, he did not notice it at all. They arrived at the divine world. He tried to feel the environment around him again, although it was similar to the outer area of Dayang town. However, the position of his faction had indeed changed a little. After some thought, Chu Yiren pointed in a direction. Seeing that Chu Yiren's finger had changed from pointing at the sky to pointing at the ground, Xiao Changtian heaved a sigh of relief. That girl was probably joking. This girl was usually carefree, so it was normal for her to be fun. Following that, Xiao Changtian turned to Chu Yiren and scolded, "Don't play like this in the future." Chu Yiren didn't react to Xiao Changtian's words. He felt his palm being pulled by Xiao Changtian, walking towards the direction he had pointed. Chu Yiren's face reddened as Xiao Changtian gripped her hand. "Forget it, I don't care anymore. It's enough to have Senior by my side." At the same time, outside a mountain forest, a figure was fleeing in a sorry state, looking behind him from time to time. Quickly catch him, don't let him escape. He's there, I'll chase him. Fierce voices came from behind the figure. The figure was a black wolf cub. However, it was different from the demonic wolf cub. The wolf cub had a wolf-like upper body and a human-like lower body. At this moment, the wolf cub had some blood on its body as it ran wildly. Other than some furious voices, there were also occasional arrows flying towards them. Whoosh! The werewolf was shot in the back by an arrow, and a stream of blood flowed down from its back. Then, after running a few steps, the werewolf staggered and fell to the ground. Holy Sun Chu, you should follow me back and be punished obediently. That's right. Who knew that you would be so unbearable? You were actually defeated by a new holy sun at the godly king realm. You're really trash. To think I called you Saint Child so many times in the past. After being hit by the arrow, the werewolf fell to the ground. At this moment, he was surrounded by the people who had chased after him. At this moment, the werewolf coughed a few times and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. He pointed at the group of people in front of him. You bunch of fence-sitters, what were you like when I was in power? Hearing the werewolf's mockery, one of the serpent men twisted his body and slowly walked towards him. Holy Sun Chu, oh no, he's no longer a holy sun now. It's time to change his name, Chu Shaoshan. You're already a saint, so of course we respect you. But now that you've offended the new saint, we can only abandon the darkness and join the light. As she spoke, the Naga also laughed mockingly. Abandon the dark for the light, what a good idea. When the werewolf heard the Naga's words, it also raised its head and shouted. He was originally the saint child of the school of imperial beasts, and he used to be extremely glorious in the school of imperial beasts. Their beast-taming sect was quite different from other beast-taming sects. Their sect had a unique cultivation technique. After cultivating, they were no longer subdued beasts, but could become one with their mounts. It formed its strongest form, the half-human, half-beast form. A while ago, the sect heard that there was a huge upheaval in the demon-beast world. He wanted to let the people of the sect go and see their luck. Perhaps he could bring back more demon beasts for the sect. The number of demonic beasts that the disciples could choose from would also increase. However, what Chu Shaoshan did not expect was that one of the disciples they brought back. Not only was he talented, but he was also very good at climbing up the flames and relying on power. He did not have any gratitude towards him at all. After defeating him, who had reached the God Emperor realm, in the Saint Child selection competition of the sect. The sect master had agreed to his marriage with the saintess on the spot. After that, the new holy sun sent people to kill him just because he heard that he was interested in the holy maiden. In order to nurture this new genius, the sect did not care about his actions. He had also ended up like this. He looked at the Naga and the others who were about to attack him. They were all subordinates of the new holy sun. They would not show any mercy when dealing with him. Thinking of this, Chu Shaoshan slowly closed his eyes. Chu Shaoshan, go to hell. When the serpent men and the others saw that Chu Shaoshan was no longer resisting, they also raised the spiritual weapons in their hands and attacked him. Chapter 419 Chapter 419, Hugging a Leg, 1. Chapter 419, Hugging a Leg, 1. Divine Realm, outside the forest. Chu Shaoshan die. The Naga shouted and was about to slash at Chu Shaoshan with her companions. Woof woof woof. At this moment, a dog barked. The Naga and the others felt a pressure descend in front of them. Then they placed the spirit weapons in their hands one after another. He knelt on the ground. What was going on? After kneeling on the ground, everyone, including Chu Shaoshan, was dumbfounded. At this moment, a new voice was heard. Alpha, don't walk so fast. Xiao Changqian's figure slowly appeared in Chu Shaoshan's line of sight. At the same time, Chu Yiren followed behind him. Xiao Changtian came to Alpha's side and saw it barking in front of him. Xiao Changtian looked ahead and found a few small animals on the ground that did not look normal. Wow, it's Little Wolf. Because of the Snow Wolf King, Chu Yiren naturally had a good impression of Chu Shaoshan. He quickly picked it up from the ground. Chu Shaoshan's heart trembled as Chu Yiren hugged him. When he was so close to Chu Yiren, he could feel the terrifying aura emanating from her. The faint green true essence on his hand was so powerful. Even when he was the Holy Sun, no one in the sect had seen him before. Was it this person who suppressed him to the point where he could not move? With that thought in mind, Chu Shaoshan didn't dare to offend Chu Yiren even more. His eyes immediately revealed a hint of flattery. Meanwhile, Xiao Changtian saw how much Chu Yiren liked Chu Shaoshan. He also walked over. He knew that Chu Yiren had a little white wolf. The one in front of her had thin hind legs and some blood on its back. It was obvious that he was being bullied by other ferocious beasts in the forest. Walking up to Chu Yiren, Xiao Changtian took out a bottle of medicinal powder from his interspatial ring and handed it to her. Let him use it. This was the golden granary medicine that he had concocted in the courtyard. It was of great use for external injuries. Seeing the bottle in Xiao Changtian's hand, Chu Yiren thanked him. Thank you, Senior. Chu Yiren had been worried that Xiao Changtian would be unhappy with her helping the orc so casually. Now that Xiao Changtian had given him the medicine, it seemed like he was overthinking. Hearing Chu Yiren's words, Xiao Changtian waved at him. Then he walked in Alpha's direction. He watched Alpha look fiercely at the snake or some other small animal in front of him. He looked at the shadow of the wolf cub in the middle of them. He knew that they were the ones who injured the little wolf. With that in mind, Xiao Changtian patted Alpha's back and said slowly, "Just teach him a lesson. Let them go." These little animals were afraid of Alpha, presumably because they saw that Alpha was strange. He was holding a chess piece in each hand. However, Xiao Changtian knew Alpha very well. It was just an ordinary puppy. It was no different from other puppies. On the other hand, once those small animals realized that Alpha was a grass bun, they would probably attack him. Alpha nodded at Xiao Changtian. Seeing Alpha nod, Xiao Changtian walked towards Chu Yiren. After Xiao Changtian left, the Naga and the others looked at Alpha in fear. In their field of vision, a huge bloody mouth and a majestic aura appeared in their eyes. The heaven-swallowing dog was a legendary divine beast, a legendary existence that was widely spread in their sect. Today they had actually encountered each other. Naga and the others looked at the heaven-swallowing dog in front of them. Then they saw the heaven-swallowing dog holding a chess piece in its hand. He placed the chess piece on the heaven chessboard under his feet. Bang! With a swoosh, the serpent men and the others felt the cultivation they had painstakingly cultivated for decades dissipate. Then the news of the heaven-swallowing dog slowly sounded in their minds. Get lost. Hearing this, the Naga and the others did not dare to complain and quickly ran into the forest. Xiao Changtian also gave Alpha a thumbs up when he saw the animals scuttling toward the forest. It seemed that Alpha had understood what he meant. At this moment, Chu Shaoshan, who was in Chu Yiren's arms, watched the little animals that Alpha had chased away. His eyes were also filled with excitement, and the way he looked at Chu Yiren was even more obsequious. As Chu Yiren caressed him, Chu Shaoshan suddenly felt like he had hope in his life again. Based on the strength that the heaven-swallowing dog had displayed just now, and the woman on his body if he fawned over them. In that case, the humiliation that the Imperial Beast sect had caused him to suffer could all be returned. Yi Tian must have had some sort of fortuitous encounter. Otherwise, how could he have crossed the line and defeated him in such a short period of time? There were also those elders and sect masters in the sect. One of them fawned over the powerful and had extreme power. Seeing Yi Tian's talent, she would give him all sorts of compliments and try to coax him. As for him, the former holy son who had contributed to the sect, he completely ignored him and treated him coldly. All these years, even if he didn't make any contributions, he had worked hard. At this thought, Chu Shaoshan became even more determined to cling onto Chu Yiren and Xiao Changtian's thighs. On the other side, after the Naga and the others arrived at the forest, they slowly returned to their human forms. Looking behind her, the Naga felt that her back was already drenched in sweat. Fortunately, the heaven-swallowing dog didn't catch up. "Leader, what should we do now?" The subordinate beside him walked forward and slowly said to the serpent men. Although they did not die, they were disheartened to have decades of their cultivation cut off in an instant. At this moment, the Naga also glanced at him. He was the most depressed person to have his cultivation cut. He had originally thought that he could take advantage of this errand to get some spiritual herbs or something. He didn't expect that he would lose his cultivation even though he didn't get anything. However, when she thought of the heaven-swallowing dog's appearance, the Naga immediately suppressed the resentment in her heart. It was rumored that a divine beast like the heaven-swallowing dog had already reached the level of heaven transformation. If he had any resentment in his heart now, he would probably sense it immediately. With this thought in mind, the Naga slowly said to them, "Is there a need to ask?" He must have gone back to report to the Saint Child. As she spoke, the Naga also vented her frustration at the unfortunate start on them. Chapter 420. Old man, what are you pretending for? 1. Chapter 420. Old man, what are you pretending for? 1. Divine Realm, a majestic mountain peak. Weeds grew on both sides of the mountain path, and some birds and beasts passed by from time to time in the air. At the end of the mountain path there was a stone door. There were 3 huge words carved on the stone door. Imperial Beast Sect. The Imperial Beast Sect was one of the most powerful factions in the great, desolate immortal continent. Moreover, because it was the border between the human world and the demon beast world. There were endless battles here all year round, and the various factions changed very quickly. Therefore many experts were born. Meanwhile, the Imperial Beast Sect relied on the unique cultivation techniques in the sect to unleash the advantages of humans and demons. Zicheng Sect quickly became the top power in this area. The current leader of the School of Imperial Beasts, Xiaoan, was the only person who had cultivated the beast-taming art to the Great Success realm. His cultivation had also reached the Godly Emperor realm, and he was invincible in the great desolate immortal continent. Xiaoan was standing in front of the mountain gate. He was wearing a white robe and had a black eagle on his shoulder. There was also some fresh meat that looked like streaky pork in his hand. The black eagle was pecking at the fresh meat in his hand. At that moment Shan also looked down the mountain. Footsteps could be heard coming from the foot of the mountain. Then Shan saw Naga and the others supporting each other as they walked up the mountain. What happened? 1 foot Xiaoan retracted his hand, and the black eagle on his shoulder flew up, turned into a big eagle and dragged Xiaoan over to the Naga and the others. The Naga and the others were also feeling weak. She hurriedly knelt down in front of him. "Sect Master, you have to stand up for us." When the Naga saw Shan, she immediately knelt down and cried. "We followed Saint Child Ye's orders to chase after Chu Xiaoshan. But for some reason, a heaven-swallowing dog suddenly appeared halfway. He beat us all back and caused our cultivation to dissipate." As she spoke, the Naga did not forget to act pitiful. Her hands continuously wiped the corners of her eyes. Heaven-swallowing dog. When Shan heard the Naga and the others' words, he seemed to be a little stunned. He knew Chu Xiaoshan, the former saint who had been defeated by Yi Tian at the Saint Assembly. In a place like this, it was very normal for the Imperial Beast Sect to follow the law of the jungle. However, it would be a big deal if the Naga and the others met the heaven-swallowing dog. The heaven-swallowing dog was a legendary divine beast. If he could capture him, perhaps his strength could reach a higher level. He even came into contact with the legendary immortal realm. With that thought in mind, Shan's figure flashed and disappeared in front of Naga and the others with Black Eagle. That was only the Naga's side of the story. He had to personally confirm it. The Naga and the others were also a little confused when they saw Shan fly into the sky. Then, the Naga waved at the people behind her. "Let's go and report to the Saint Child first." At the same time, on the other side, Xiao Changtian was leading Chu Yiren along the mountain path. The little Chu Hill in Chu Yiren's arms also stuck out its little tongue and licked Chu Yiren's little hand. From the looks of it, he was extremely flattering. At that moment, Alpha walked in front of the two of them and looked up. In the sky above Xiao Changtian and the others, a stream of light flew past. Then Shan's figure slowly appeared on top of the Black Eagle. Looking down, Shan's gaze paused on them. One of them had no aura, while the other had a familiar aura. His holy sense had already covered the entire area. Xiaoan also knew that there were only Xiao Changtian and the other two people in this place. Where could the heaven-swallowing dog be? Shan placed his hands behind his back, and the Black Eagle under his feet kept flapping its wings. At that moment, a huge phantom of the heaven-swallowing dog suddenly appeared in front of Shan. The appearance of the heaven-swallowing dog immediately attracted Shan's attention. It seemed like there really was a heaven-swallowing dog here. Seeing the heaven-swallowing dog, Shan was also delighted. As expected of a divine beast, it did not fear him at all when it saw him. Very good, this was the divine beast he wanted. With that thought in mind, Xiaoan's true essence slowly gathered on his body. "Heaven-swallowing dog, obey me. Let me show you your power." As he spoke, the vital essence in Shaoen's hand turned into chains and attacked the heaven-swallowing dog. This first attack was naturally to test the strength of the heaven-swallowing dog. The heaven-swallowing dog stepped on the heaven chessboard, and true essence flowed through its eyes. Following that, a wave of fluctuation spread out, and the chain automatically cracked open. "Old fellow, what are you pretending for?" The heaven-swallowing dog shouted at Shan and charged at him. A miserable cry sounded in the air. At this moment Alpha, who was walking in front of Xiao Changtian, also let out a casual sigh. Xiao Changtian surveyed his surroundings before turning to Chu Yiren and saying slowly, "Yiren, did you hear any screams just now?" "Screams?" Chu Yiren was playing with Chu Xiaoshan in her arms. When he heard Xiao Changtian's words, he was stunned and shook his head. Seeing Chu Yiren shake her head, Xiao Changtian was a little confused. "Wait for me here," Xiao Changtian casually said to Chu Yiren before leading Alpha into the forest. "Senior." Chu Yiren called out to Xiao Changtian as he left. Soon Xiao Changtian and Alpha arrived in the forest. Xiao Changtian first looked around and then found that there was a person beside his feet. An old man in white fell to the ground. He knew that his judgment just now was not wrong. The scream just now must have come from the person in front of him. Seeing the old man unconscious, Xiao Changtian reached out and patted his face. After helping him check on his life, he knew that he had a strong vitality and did not die. Xiao En slowly woke up after being patted by Xiao Changtian. At this moment, his consciousness was a little blurry. He only remembered that he was about to attack the heaven-swallowing dog. And then he was beaten out of the game because he couldn't win. Xiao En then looked at Xiao Changtian, who was beside him. "Mortals." Seeing Xiao Changtian supporting his arm, Xiao En's body also surged with true essence. Since this mortal was able to discover him, he must have seen the heaven-swallowing dog. Shan did not want the news of the heaven-swallowing dog to spread so quickly. Just as Shan was about to make a move, Alpha also barked to his side. Hearing the barking, Shan turned his head and saw Alpha. His body instinctively dispersed the true essence in his hand. He had no doubt that if he had attacked just now, this heaven-swallowing dog would definitely bite him to death. Chapter 421 Chapter 421 Senior has his eyes on me 1. Chapter 421 Senior has his eyes on me 1. In the divine world, in the forest in front of the beast-taming door. Shan looked at Alpha, who was standing beside him, and a smile appeared on his face. Looking at Alpha, Shan smiled awkwardly at him. Then he let Xiao Changtian pull his arm and walk to the side. "Alpha, we're going back." Xiao Changtian waved at Alpha. Then Alpha walked up to Xiao Changtian and led the way. This person could actually order the heaven-swallowing dog to do things. Xiao En saw Alpha behaving obediently under Xiao Changtian's command. His gaze swept over Xiao Changtian again. This person was the master of the heaven-swallowing dog. Could it be that he was also cultivating the technique of beast taming like him? However, from Xiao Changtian's body, he didn't seem to be emitting any aura. It seemed that he had to think of a way to force him to make a move. At this moment, Xiao Changtian's voice slowly entered his ears. "Old man, what are you looking at? I'm telling you, you're already so old. It's time for you to let go of some things." Xiao Changtian patted Xiao En's arm as he spoke. When he came to the cultivation world, the feeling that the old man gave Xiao Changtian was that he had never forgotten his dream of cultivation. Previously, when he was in Dayang town, Divine King Red Cloud was also full of lofty aspirations and bragged to him. Later on, when he went to Amoba's courtyard, that sword emperor was the same. He always thought that one day he would be able to walk the world with a sword. However, cultivation also depended on talent. If it didn't work, then don't waste time. He and Chu Yiren had come here to find a spoon that was a half-immortal artifact. For this old man to come to such a place, it was likely that his desire to seek immortality had not faded. Xiao En looked at his arm that Xiao Changtian had slapped. He also felt a lingering fear in his heart. His invincible attitude in the great desolate immortal continent for many years had already made him forget who else in the world could defeat him. And from the words of the person in front of him just now, it was obvious that he had understood everything in his heart. Something should be put down? Was it warning him not to have any thoughts about the heaven-swallowing dog? Shan made up his mind. No, he had to return to the sect to ask for reinforcements first. Then Xiao En tried to break free from Xiao Changtian's arm. However, he suddenly realized that he was caught by Xiao Changtian. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break free. This person must be some old monster who had hidden himself from the world. He had just seen through his intention to hit the heaven-swallowing dog. Therefore, he wanted to take revenge on him now. With that thought in mind, Shan hurriedly whistled. This was his signal to summon his black eagle. Now, if he wanted to escape, he had to cooperate with his mount. After Shan landed, a stream of light fell from the sky. Bang! The black eagle landed in front of Xiao Changtian and the others. What was that? Shan saw Black Eagle fall to the ground and get captured. Could it be that this did not escape his detection? Although he had just whistled, that was his unique skill. Other than Black Eagle and himself, no one else should be able to hear it. At this moment, Xiao Changtian also saw the Black Eagle in front of them. He turned to Shan and said with a smile, "Old man, I saw how you fell just now. The heavens are taking care of you. We can catch that eagle in front and stew it. It's to nourish your body." While speaking, Xiao Changtian also grabbed the black eagle and tied it to the Qingquan bag on his waist. Was this person trying to show off? Was this telling him that no matter what method he used, it would be useless against him? Shan's face was filled with despair as he analyzed the situation in his heart. It was all his fault for being greedy and invincible in the great desolate, immortal continent for a long time. He thought that he could do anything. In fact, the power of an existence that could command the heaven-swallowing dog was something that he could imagine. This time he had brought up an iron plate. With this thought in mind, Xiao En knelt down in front of Xiao Changtian. Bang! Xiao Changtian only heard a bang behind him. He turned around and saw Shan kneeling before him. At this moment, Chu Yiren's voice could be heard. "Senior, where did you go?" Seeing Chu Yiren, Xiao Changtian also waved at her. "Yiren, I'm here. There's an old man here. He encountered some trouble in the forest and came over to help." The old man seemed to be exhausted from the mountain. He couldn't even walk with his legs, so he directly knelt down. When Chu Yiren heard Xiao Changtian's words, she walked over as well, narrowing her eyes at Xiao En. The feeling this person gave him was similar to the Ice Emperor in the courtyard. He was only slightly weaker than them. What was the purpose of Senior helping this person? Although she had some thoughts, Chu Yiren still walked over to help Xiao En up. Hearing Xiao Changtian's words, Xiao En felt even more hopeless. It seemed that this senior didn't care about his pleas at all. Logically speaking, although he had his eyes on the other party's mount, he did not succeed after all. Moreover, he had also knelt down. Such a figure still had some grace. He shouldn't have bothered about it. Why couldn't he forgive himself? Could it be that he had offended her in some way? No matter how he thought about it, Shan could not figure out how he had offended them. At this moment, Xiao En also saw Chu Xiaoshan, who was standing beside Chu Yiren. Seeing Chu Xiaoshan, Xiao En suddenly understood something. When the Naga came to report to him, he was still wondering why the heaven-swallowing dog would appear here. After all, if a divine beast like the heaven-swallowing dog were to be born, it should cause a huge commotion. After coming here, he found out that the heaven-swallowing dog had an owner. Moreover, Chu Xiaoshan is still by Senior's side. What did this mean? This meant that the relationship between Senior and Chu Xiaoshan was very close. Moreover, because of the Saint Child incident this time, Senior would probably come to his Imperial Beast sect to denounce him. That was why he had given him a show of strength just now. As he thought about this, cold sweat broke out on Shan's face. If he was targeted by an expert, how would he live in the future? Thinking of this, Xiao En also looked at Chu Xiaoshan. His eyes were pleading for help. Now his only way to survive was Chu Xiaoshan. At this time, Xiao Changtian also walked up to Xiao En. "Old man, sit down for a while. I'll chop this eagle up for you and cook it into soup." While talking, Xiao Changqing held a small dagger in one hand and Xiao En's black eagle in the other. It was over, it was over. When Xiao En saw Xiao Changtian's appearance, he was also anxious. The black eagle was his natal mount. Once it died, his cultivation would also fall. Senior was going to kill the black eagle first to vent Chu Xiaoshan's hatred. At that moment, Xiao En saw Chu Xiaoshan, who had turned his head away, and was even more certain of this. What should he do? What should he do? Chapter 422 Chapter 422, Yi Tian. Chapter 422, Yi Tian. In the divine realm, in the forest outside the Imperial Beast Gate. Shaoan watched as Xiao Changtian was about to attack the black eagle in his hand. He quickly looked at Chu Shaoshan again. Chu Shaoshan was still standing at the side coldly, completely ignoring him. He clearly remembered the time at the Imperial Beast Sect's Saint Assembly. How did the sect master treat him? He valued Yi Tian's talent and didn't care about the fact that he had been targeted and hunted down. She even liked Yi Tian. Now that he was in trouble, he would definitely not help. He had no choice but to do so. Seeing Chu Shaoshan's reaction, Shaoan knew that he would not help him plead for mercy. Then he shouted, "Wait!" The black eagle in Xiao Changtian's hand was trembling when it saw the dagger in front of it. The dagger in Xiao Changtian's hand gave him the feeling of an immortal artifact. He could feel that he only needed one strike from Xiao Changtian. He would definitely die. His defense could not block the dagger's attack at all. Xiao Changtian also stopped what he was doing. Xiao Changtian also looked in Shaoan's direction. "You don't want to kill him." Xiao Changtian pointed at the black eagle in his hand and said slowly to Shaoan. Shaoan heard Xiao Changtian's words and stopped the dagger in his hand. He heaved a sigh of relief and nodded frantically at Xiao Changtian. She didn't expect this old man to be so kind and not like to eat small animals. That's right. Those immortal cultivators all talk about the Tao in nature, and they have to be of one heart with heaven and earth. This old man had probably read too many books. At this time Xiao Changtian also walked up to Shaoan. He slowly put away the black eagle and said to him, "If you say you don't want to eat it, then don't eat it first. I'll keep it for now." Xiao Changtian patted Shaoan's shoulder as he spoke. Shaoan was touched when he saw that Xiao Changtian did not kill the black eagle. Senior was giving him a chance to redeem himself. With this thought in mind, Shaoan said to Xiao Changtian on the spot, "Senior, Shaoan will remember today's matter. When we return to the sect, we will definitely make Chu Shaoshan the Holy Son." As he spoke, Shaoan glanced in Chu Shaoshan's direction. "Chu Shaoshan? What Chu Shaoshan?" Xiao Changtian was also dumbfounded when he heard Shaoan's words. This was the first time this old man had spoken to him in a serious manner. He did not expect that he was actually sick. Forget it, let's not bother about him. Chu Shaoshan probably made it up at random so he would just cooperate with him. At this moment Xiao Changtian also responded. Good, you're right." Shaoan was delighted to hear Xiao Changtian's words. At the same time Chu Shaoshan, who was beside Chu Yiren, was also overjoyed. It seemed that his previous flattery was not wrong. He had hugged a thigh. Even the sect master was submissive in front of this young man. Naturally, Chu Yiren didn't question Xiao Changtian's decision. "Yiren, I'll continue walking up," Xiao Changtian said slowly to Chu Yiren. Hearing that Xiao Changtian was going to continue walking, Shaoan also tidied up his clothes. It seemed that Senior wanted to see his actions with his own eyes. He could only perform well now and try to save Black Eagle. At this time, Shaoan also took the initiative to walk in front of Xiao Changtian and slowly said to him, "Senior, I'm familiar with this mountain. Let me lead the way." Xiao Changtian exchanged a glance with Chu Yiren when he heard Shaoan's words. Then he slowly said to him, "All right, then you lead the way." This old man seemed to have done some research on this place. Since he took the initiative, he would let him lead the way. Thus, Shaoan led Xiao Changtian and the others slowly toward the Imperial Beast Gate. At this moment, the Imperial Beast sect. In a magnificent room. The room was lit with sandalwood. It was obvious that it was made of high-quality materials. There was a man sitting in the room. Beside him was a beautiful woman. They were enjoying themselves in the room. "Saint Child, bad news, Saint Child." At this moment an anxious voice came from outside. Then the door of the room was opened, and the Naga's figure slowly appeared in the room. In the room, the man was wearing black clothes and a jade ring on his finger. This person was none other than the Imperial Beast sect's current holy son Yi Tian. Yi Tian seemed a little angry. With a wave of his hand, the women around him retreated. "What's the hurry?" Hearing Yi Tian's angry voice, the Naga's body trembled and she fell to her knees. "Lord Holy Son, we failed to kill Chu Shaoshan." "What?" Yi Tian was already in a bad mood, so the Naga's words made him feel a little unhappy. He flipped the table beside him and stood up from the chair. "Holy Son, calm down. The sect master has already gone out to investigate." Hearing the Naga's words, Yi Tian also walked out of the room. The Naga watched Yi Tian leave the room. He stood up from the ground and muttered, "Saint Child, I haven't told you about the heaven-swallowing dog." After leaving the room, the ring on Yi Tian's finger lit up. "Tian'er, you shouldn't be so impulsive." That Naga clearly had something to say. "Master, I know, but what can those soldiers know? If Chu Shaoshan doesn't die, how can I tolerate it?" As he walked, Yi Tian spoke to his ring. Who would have thought that Yi Tian's ring had a soul hidden within? From the looks of it, his strength was still quite good. Hearing Yi Tian's words, a sigh came from the ring. This disciple of his, what was good about him? He was just a little impatient. After the Battle of the Saints, Yi Tian had also taken advantage of the situation. He wanted to hide in the Imperial Beast sect and steal the 100,000-year-old spiritual medicine, the Lingji grass, nurturing his master's soul. However, he didn't expect Chu Shaoshan to bump into him. Although his master had said that he had not discovered their intentions at that time. They just happened to bump into each other, so there was no need to be so ruthless. But Yi Tian still couldn't rest until he killed him. Therefore they started to target Chu Shaoshan in various ways in the sect and finally killed him. He had learned his lesson from the failure of stealing the Lingji grass last time and was about to steal it again. Then there was news that Chu Shaoshan was not dead and was coming back at this time. It seemed that Chu Shaoshan was obviously trying to ruin his plans. Thus, Yi Tian was anxious to go outside and confirm whether he was dead or not. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.